You just let me know when you're ready.
I'm ready now, thank you.
Okay. All right, guys. Okay. Good evening. And welcome to our regular meeting this Tuesday, November 18th at 7:30 PM. And we will start off this evening. I'm calling this meeting to order at 7:33. And I'm convening this meeting in honor of Sadie Gomez Bridwell, born July 21st, 2025, to Jillian Gomez and Corey Bridwell. And so congratulations, and it's always so nice to convene our meetings in honor of our little ones. And we will start off then with our invocation by Chaplain Steve, and followed by the Pledge of Allegiance by Councilmember Edward Belden. Chaplain.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening. Would you join me as we dedicate tonight to the Lord? God, thank you so much for all those who are here today, for those who couldn't make it, and for the city of Monrovia. We pray as we gather, as we discuss, as we hear new ideas, as we honor things that have happened and people who you've brought to this community, that you will bring a sense of unity, that you will guide the discussions, the thoughts, the words. We also pray as we look ahead to the holiday season of Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year's, may you bring your peace to a world that so desperately needs it. May we tangibly experience that here in Monrovia. As we think of even dedicating a new life tonight, we pray for the children of this community, for the schools, for the families, especially those who are struggling. May you provide everything they need, and may you be their peace as we celebrate so many things in the upcoming weeks. We pray this in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Please stand. Face the flag. Ready to begin.
Thank you, Edward. Okay, roll call, please.
Council members Belden.
Here.
Jimenez.
Here.
Spicer.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly.
Here.
And Mayor Shevlin.
Here. Okay, we did have a closed session, so I'll ask our city attorney to please report out on our closed session.
Thank you, Mayor. Prior to the meeting this evening, the council met in closed session. All members of the council were present and gave direction to staff and the city prosecutor and took no reportable action.
Thank you very much. Then we're moving right on to our presentations and proclamations this evening. And PR1, I see our four-legged friend out there in the and so Pasadena Humane Pet of the Month, and I'd like to call up Kevin McManus and to introduce us to his friend here.
Good evening, everyone. I brought with me tonight a lovely 13-year-old husky mix named Oreo. Oreo's family had to surrender her to us. They were going through some tough times, but we're really confident that we can find a great home for her. 13 in age, maybe, but certainly not in spirit. She's got a lot of love yet to give. And I brought her, again, specifically tonight because November is Adopt a Senior Pet Month. So if you want to open your heart and your home to a senior in need, like Miss Oreo here, at Pasadena Humane, we're waiving adoption fees for any animal over the age of 5 for the entire month because we all love our seniors and we want them to find a great home this month.
Thank you. And any other events you'd like to promo upcoming for
Sure.
the holiday season?
Yeah, well, I'll be here for the next one, but we'll be having an adoption promo at the end of the year called Home for the Holidays. So a great time to adopt is over Christmas when you have some time to get a pet used to a routine, and so I believe fee waived adoptions for about the last 2 weeks of the month of December.
And I know you normally have photos with your pets for the holiday season, so I'm assuming that's
I believe
going
that's on the calendar, but I don't know the date yet.
Oh,
This is
Okay.
where I need Michelle.
All right. Well, we'll come down and take a photo with Oreo.
All right.
Always have to get a picture with it. Hi, Oreo. Hi, honey. Hi, Oreo. Cutie. With the flies on her ears.
Thank you for coming every Thank you.
Oh, yes, yes. Thank you, Kevin. Always great to see the pets, and remember, they need homes, too. Okay, PR2, and we have recognition of Dr. Heather Povinelli, and I hope I pronounced that correctly, as Monrovia Unified School District and Los Angeles County 2025-2026 Teacher of the Year and State of California 2026 Teacher of the Year. So is Dr. Hi there. All right. All right. Lauren, can you help her with the mic?
Did you just want me to say hi?
Or just share, yes, sure. Share a little bit for the audience and those at home and that might not know, don't have kids in the school district. And I mean, that is such an honor. And thank you so much for giving back to our children. It's just a wonderful honor, and we're so happy to have you here. But I wanted to give you the opportunity. And we do have a little something for you.
Well, first of all, it is an absolute honor and privilege to be working at Monrovia, or in Monrovia, for Monrovia Unified School District. I've been doing it for 25 plus years. I've taught at Brad Oaks all those years. I love this community. I love the children that grow up in this community. And I've taught some.
Yes.
Yeah, I've taught Mr. Spicer's, both his children. And it's weird how time flies, that I've seen the children grow up to be adults. That sounds strange to say. My own children went to Monrovia. So thank you so much. I hope I make you proud. I will do my best.
You definitely do. And we do have a certificate here for you, and it's addressed to you, and recipient of Monrovia Unified School District, Los Angeles County and State of California. 2025-26 Educator of the Year Awards. The City Council congratulates you on these well-deserved recognitions. Your leadership and dedication to the education and enrichment of our youth, going above and beyond for your students and fellow teachers, have truly made Monrovia a better place. And we do have something for you. And Council, come down with me.
Thank you.
I want you to see those beautiful flowers.
Thank you.
Congratulations. I'm an alumni at Brad Oaks, and I live across the street.
Oh, how
I've seen you.
Yes.
I've seen you looking for parking at Brad Oaks School.
I'm pretty good at finding it out.
Lawrence and Layla said to tell you, congratulations.
Say thank you to them. I remember them so well.
Okay.
I've seen her multiple times at Brad Oaks. Yeah.
Congratulations again at the wonderful achievements and awards. Then we're moving on to PR3, proclaiming November 2025 as Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Month. And we do have Barbara Golar, who's here, and she will receive this proclamation. Barbara, I know you were here. Oh, there you are. I'll read the proclamation and then let you speak. Whereas the health of our community's people is the foundation for a caring and productive society, and our future rests with our ability to adequately treat and ultimately find cures for individuals who are afflicted with a variety of illnesses, including pulmonary hypertension. And whereas pulmonary hypertension, PH, is a rare disorder causing high blood pressure in blood vessels leading from the heart to the lungs, and is a contributing factor to more than 18,000 adult deaths each year in the U.S. And whereas there are at least as many undiagnosed as diagnosed patients, and whereas pulmonary arterial hypertension, PAH, is one type of PH without treatment, PAH patients live 2.8 years past diagnosis on average. With early diagnosis and effective treatment, the disorder can be managed for 20 years or more. And whereas adults and children of all ages can develop PH, women develop PAH more than 3 times as often as men, and women of color are disproportionately have poor health outcomes. And whereas education can help with early diagnosis and funding for research can help find a cure. Now, therefore, I, Becky Shevlin, Mayor of the City of Monrovia, California, along with the entire City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of November 2025 as Pulmonary Hypertension Awareness Month, and encourage people to spark awareness and learn about the challenges those with PH and their families face, dated this 18th day of November 2025. And we've asked Barbara, her sister Joni, which many of us knew very, very well. She unfortunately succumbed to this disease. And I wanted to give you the opportunity to, well, we will give this proclamation to you, but to share some words.
Yeah, first of all, thank you so much. And as you all know, we were canceled, and so that's why we here in Monrovia no longer having the walk here. So I actually, I appreciate us still being able to proclaim November as Pulmonary Hypertension Month. Like, I don't know if most of you know that pulmonary hypertension acts like asthma, and so it's a long process to even get to that point to be diagnosed with it. Because first of all, the testing of it is expensive, so the doctors do all of these other things to rule out, and so that in itself kind of delays the process of you being diagnosed and also treated. So I'm thankful and grateful that Joni actually brought this awareness to the community. And actually, at one point, we had 2 members of our community that had the disease. So we're not having it this year, but this morning, I woke up and really kind of prayed upon what can I do different, because we can't do the walk. So I'm figuring out, going to be meeting with the committee as well as my family to see if something different that we can do to still raise funds to contribute to PH, because it's extremely important. Like what the mayor read in regards to the disease. So,
Well, thank you very much for being here with us this evening. We'll come down and give you your proclamation.
Yes, and I brought 2 of my committee people here, and I have my shirt on. I couldn't find the shirt that had in memory of Joni. Yeah.
Come on up. Thank Okay, moving on, we've got PR for Make a Difference Day recap. And we have Macy Gracia presenting on behalf of the Volunteer Center of San Gabriel Valley. She's the Executive Director Extraordinaire. And so she will be giving us a recap of our October 25th Make a Difference Day.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. This year's, we proudly hosted another successful Make a Difference Day, and I'm excited to share a brief recap. We had 400 volunteers, an incredible turnout. We completed 14 community projects throughout Monrovia. We had 22 participating groups, including schools, local service clubs, local businesses, faith-based volunteers, and individual community members. Every one of them brought heart, energy, and the determination to tackle whatever was needed. Our theme, Helping Hands, Changing Lives, guided this year's Make a Difference Day. And it shined through every project, from yard cleanup and landscaping to painting and organizing and supporting seniors. Our volunteers showed what community looks like in action. We also want to extend our sincere appreciation to all our sponsors and partners. Their support provides the tools, supplies, and resources needed to make this day possible. And we couldn't do it without them. A special thanks to our staff and to our Make a Difference Day committee for their coordination and support. We truly appreciate you and all you did behind the scenes. The video highlights something special: the hard work, the smile, and the spirit that filled the day. It captures every age taking part, from our youngest helpers to our lifelong community members who never missed a Make a Difference Day. Thank you, and please enjoy the recap.
See you next year. And thank you again to you, your staff, all the volunteers, our staff members.
thank you.
And just remember, every day is Make a Difference Day. But you make that one time a year, you make that very special. A lot of people
Thank
are helped in
you.
our community. And
Perfect.
I had a great time working with the MAP leadership kids, so, and adults too. But at any rate,
Thank you.
we'll come down. I know we've taken a picture before, but we always need a picture with
Oh,
Macy.
thank you.
Tell you thank you. Excuse. Yes. Any other board members? Thank you. Thank you, Irene. Okay, unfortunately, we do not have a student government representative report this evening. Elsie could not make it this evening, and so we'll move on. I don't believe there's any changes to our order of business this evening. And then our consent calendar, which are items CC1 through CC15, and there are just a couple of items on CC10. The recommendation was omitted, and that's adopt resolution number 25-59. And then on CC15, the resolution was not attached, and that is now available. So with that, these items are considered ordinary in business and can, in nature, and can be entertained in one motion. So if we have.
I'll make a motion to adopt CC 1 through 15 with the modifications to CC 10 and CC 15.
Second?
We have a motion and a second, then without objection, so approved. And now we will, I think somebody told me it was somebody's birthday today. It's actually today. Is it today? Yeah.
It's not today, it's Sunday.
Sunday. Oh, I thought it was today. But it doesn't matter. So it's Dr. Kelly's birthday, and so we would like to sing happy birthday to her. I'll let Jeremy light the candle, and we can, on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Cha cha cha. Happy birthday, dear Tella. Happy birthday to you, and many more. Happy
I'll pass,
birthday.
thanks.
We ate pizza and spaghetti for dinner, I think. But thank you for the cupcakes. Okay. I'm good. Okay. Yeah. Okay, then we're moving on to public input, and this is separate. Don't get excited here. This is not for our public hearing, but this is public input for items not on our agenda. And the public, we encourage the public to come forward and share their thoughts on items not on our agenda. You are allowed 3 minutes. And if there's anyone, do we have speaker cards? Our city clerk will call and call you up. And again, you have 3 minutes.
And I will just say that if you marked public input and meant to do public hearing, just let me know when I call your name, and we'll call you back up later. Starting with Steve Soto.
Mayor, members of the City Council, Dr. Kelly, thank you for inviting me to speak to you. My name is Steve Soto, and I have been writing poems for over 60 years. I've been a guest poet columnist for the Desert Sun newspaper. a major newspaper that serves Palm Springs and the Coachella Valley, and I've also written 4 books. I write on issues and feelings that I see in the world today. Right now, I see a lack of empathy and compassion, and I see the destruction of the humanity within man. I'm afraid our country has lost its moral compass. We are a country of laws and immigrants. What's happening to immigrants now should be an affront to all Americans. Our checks and balances are out of balance. We can do better. I've written this in response to our unconscionable treatment of immigrants, and I'd like to read it to you now. It's a poem I call Home of the Brave. People born in land of chains seek refuge where our freedom reigns. They walk in pain, they risk by boat, they risk their lives to cast a vote. Their journey just so fraught with terror, they risk all lives because they care. No food, no drink, their lives in doubt, to think this was the safest route. They reach our shore in broken shape, ecstatic now that they've escaped. A new great life awaits them now, their children now safe somehow. Years pass by, they have a place. Life is hard for their one race. Kids have school and made some friends, but all their friends are just like them. They made a life they scrape on by, can't get ahead even though they try. We have our jobs, don't make a fuss, but people smirk when look at us. We're not like them, it's just not right. We pay the price because we're not white. They tell us now to go back home. For decades now, this is our home. Home after work, a throw of the dice, because of masked armed men, now known as ICE. Committed no crime, I'm innocent, but they say deport me because I'm immigrant. Home of the brave, land of the free, maybe to some, but not you and me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next is Martha Mack.
Good evening, Martha.
Hello, council and fellow community members. My name is Martha Mack. Thank you for that lovely poem. I'm actually here also just to request once again that we do something to commemorate Roberto Carlos Montoya, who died on our freeway here in Monrovia back in August by the Home Depot. This is my second time coming, and I would just appreciate your consideration of that. I also do not agree with beginning this meeting with a Christian prayer, as not all of us are Christian. And thank you.
Next is Ellen Dewar.
City Council, thank you for an impromptu request of the attorney in charge of Monrovia. This came up this morning regarding an FCC rule that will be probably introduced both from the FCC and from Congress that would allow an eminent domain effect to put cell towers anywhere they feel like it. And it'd be, if rumors are correct, setbacks from schools and homes would be ignored, local design and aesthetic standards would be ignored, fire safety and placement restrictions ignored, saturation limits ignored, and exempting historic preservation reviews. So, kind of an important issue that I only became aware of this morning, and I hoped that I could give the city clerk my printout of the matter to give to the city attorney, that he could possibly research it and ask the city council to make a public statement to Congress and to the FCC that would disallow any language in this proposed bill that would put cell towers ostensibly in your backyard or your front yard or, the library park, heaven forbid. So that's apparently HR 3557. And hopefully you guys will look into it and make a pronouncement from the city of Monrovia that that would be unacceptable. As well, I would like to mention that I do pray for you guys to have a Bible study starting every Wednesday at 2. If anyone wants to join me, I would love to find the Lord providing a man to teach the Ralph Drollinger curriculum. And thirdly, because I think I have about 30 seconds left, my own father, Juan Gabriel Morales, came from Mexico and turned his own brother away at the front door for not following protocol when he came here illegally. Turned his own brother, Antonio, away. So I am all for rule of law when it comes to immigration. Amen. Could I?
Yes,
Oh, thank you. Appreciate your time.
thank you.
Sorry, too much going on. Vicki Hansen.
Hi, Vicki.
Good evening, Mayor Shevlin, council members. My name is Vicki Hansen. I'm here tonight to give a brief update on the grassroots community effort underway to celebrate 2026 Route 66 Centennial. Across the country, planning and activities have already begun. Many organizations are recognizing April 30th as a symbolic date when the Mother Road officially became Route 66. That date will kick off what is expected to be a very active weekend and a summer of celebrations nationwide. As someone who has driven the entire Route 66 from Chicago to Santa Monica, I can tell you it is a remarkable journey. It's full of Americana, quirky roadside attractions, and wonderful encounters with people from all over the world. Monrovia has an important and special place in that history. Fortunately, we still have many historic Route 66 landmarks that visitors are excited to see. So this was what we've planned so far. Thursday, April 30th, the grand opening of the museum's historic Route 66 exhibit, and possibly a community cruise along both the Monrovia's historic and the bypass alignments. Friday, May 1st, a Friday night movie in the park presented by the Historical Society, which hopefully coordinates activities with Old Town businesses. Sunday, May 3rd, car show and recreation park, food truck at Fred's, Center Stage Productions, and MOHPG home tour focused on Route 66 architecture. We have participation interest from the Flying A gas station, KGEM, Upper San Gabriel Valley Water District, and with any luck, the Aztec Hotel, and many more. I want to encourage our local businesses, restaurants like Jake's and Leroy's and others to take advantage of the attention this centennial will bring. There are many Route 66 social media platforms, including our own, Monrovia, 100 Years of Route 66, where businesses can promote events, marketing, and photo ops. Condé Nast Traveler magazine recently named Route 66 as one of the top places in the world for 2026, and it's one of only 2 U.S. destinations listed. A recent survey by AAA indicates that 41% of U.S. adults plan to visit Route 66 in 2026, with another 15% interested in learning about the Centennial. Springfield, Missouri was awarded as the national host city for the official April 30th kickoff, with many national events already scheduled in every state. To be clear, my role is not to organize each event. I'm simply here encouraging participation, support community involvement, keep a shared calendar, and share information, especially through social media. Each group can coordinate directly with the city as needed. I think I brought some packets earlier today that you guys could look at that had more information, because that was in our slideshow with the group earlier. Thank you for your time, your ideas, and your support in helping Monrovia celebrate this historic milestone.
Thank you, Vicki.
Tim Antgore.
Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and the public. My name is Tim Anetkoor. I first became involved with Community Media of the Foothills in 2016 as a volunteer and producer. KGM TV. I joined the board in 2023 after existing board members approached me with alarming concerns, warnings about financial irregularities, mismanagement, and a pattern of secrecy. They asked me to help restore integrity. From the moment I became a board member, I supported one basic goal: to review the financials and understand how CMF had been operating. But the board was blocked at every turn. Requests for fundamental documents were ignored, meetings grew hostile, and any attempt to perform normal, legally required board oversight was shut down. And the most important part, the clearest proof that something was being hidden, was the cover-up. The executive director and two of his allies on the board illegally removed legitimate board members. There is no clause in the bylaws that allows the executive director to fire board members. There is no legal process that allows a minority faction to purge the majority, yet that is exactly what happened. The executive director, with the help of two board members, removed the board that was asking to see financial records and insisting on a proper audit. It was a coordinated takeover. And instead of stopping it, the city manager validated this removal. That is extraordinary. A city-supported nonprofit was seized by an internal faction, and the city manager enabled it. After we were pushed out, the executive director handpicked and installed his own replacement board. That board had no lawful appointment process, and yet it has now approved a new audit. When the very people who orchestrated the takeover control the audit, this is not transparency, it is an attempt to rewrite the record of what truly happened. If an audit is going to be done, it must investigate the entire takeover, how legitimate board members were illegally removed, how access to financial records was denied, how the city manager and one city council member involved themselves in an internal non-profit matter, and how the executive director installed a loyalist board to secure full control. This is not simply a government's breakdown. This is a misuse of public resources. CMF receives taxpayer funding. When an organization benefiting from public money blocks oversight, fires its legitimate board, hides its financial practices, and replaces governance with hand-picked loyalists, taxpayers' dollars are being put at risk and public trust is being violated. So I'm urging the City Council to do two things. One, conduct an independent investigation into what occurred, including the involvement of city officials, and two, require a fully independent audit that examines everything, not just the finances, but the takeover itself and the obstruction of oversight. The people of Monrovia deserve the truth, they deserve lawful governance, and they deserve assurance that their taxpayers' dollars are not being misused. This demands immediate action. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Nelson?
Good evening, council. I'd like to categorically denounce, any, thank you. I'd like to categorically denounce any and all political violence and corruption, both big and small, emphasis on small. Speaking of which, regarding the charity Community Media of the Foothills, KGM TV Studio, and the City of Monrovia in general, may wisdom guide us on our path. Community Media of the Foothills, KGM TV Studio, has been involved in multiple lawsuits. Information on one relevant court case in particular is in the publicly available court document titled Kelty versus Community Media of the Foothills, reference number 20STCP02975, dated March 23, 2021. There are several points of interest regarding elections, board members, bylaw changes, fraud, and others. Listed in detail are also relevant points to my prior public comments. A section towards the bottom of page 1 reads in part, plaintiff is informed and believes and thereupon alleges that CMF's board improperly removed the term limit provisions from CMF's bylaws. Plaintiff is informed and believes and thereupon alleges that the amendment to the 2002 bylaws was improper because the amendment was not approved by a vote of CMF members. A section on the bottom of page 3 reads in part, because fraud involves a serious attack on the defendant's character, fairness requires that fraud allegations be pled with specifically so non-meritorious actions can be eliminated before the defendant is required to answer. A section towards the top of page 5 reads in part, the first cause of action also alleges more generally that an actual controversy exists between plaintiff and CMF about whether the term limit provision in the 2002 bylaws was properly removed from CMF bylaws. On the topic of CMF bylaws, there have apparently been multiple changes to the nonprofits bylaws under the studio management since March 2024. This brings up many points of interest in light of the information from this particular lawsuit document that I have shared. I contend that the activities at the KGM TV studio benefit only a small, identifiable group, not the community as a whole, as required by law. Yet Monrovia taxpayer money in the hundreds of thousands of dollars fund the management of this small, identifiable group. There are a lot more points of interest that I did not share. So I encourage the council members and the public to look into this document and read it for themselves so they may make informed voting decisions. Again, the publicly available lawsuit document is titled Kelty, K-E-L-T-Y, versus Community Media of the Foothills, reference 20-STCP-02975, dated March 23, 2021. Thank you.
Thank you.
Randy Bixenman.
Good evening.
Good evening, council members, Mayor Shevlin. The reason I'm here today is I have been a resident for 21 years on South Alta Vista. During the spring, all of my neighbors and such were given a letter from the city that they were going to put in a stop sign at the second cross street down, because basically what happens is people go in to use the 7-Eleven. By the time they get out, they're doing about 70 miles an hour. I've already had 2 cats killed. I had 1 grandson almost hit by a car. It just keeps going on and on. We've gone to the city yard and talked to them. They can't tell us anything. And then about a month or 2 ago, they put in a new stop sign in the next street, Mayflower. So I just want to find how we can resolve this stop sign situation, because before there's some serious injury. So if you can suggest anything, or, what I can do, please, let me know about it. I'd really.
Is Alex Tachiki is in the back. He's our Director of Public Works, and if you'd like, you can meet him out in the lobby there, and he can talk to you. Okay?
Wonderful. Thank
All
you
right,
for your time.
Great, thank you.
Sherry Lochner.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sherry Lochner, and I'm a resident of Monrovia, as is my mother, Lorna Lochner. I was born and raised here. I am here this evening to advocate for day laborers and other people who are immigrants targeted by ICE. As you would be well aware, ICE is continuing with their fascist, unlawful practices of detaining and kidnapping people throughout our country. My colleagues and I have reinstalled the memorial for Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez several times, and we will continue our practice for as long as needed. We want to see a permanent memorial for Carlos to commemorate his life and acknowledge his death as a result of the brutal, unjust tactics of ICE. 24 people have died as a direct result of unlawful ICE action that has no place in our community, indeed throughout the United States. These are the names of the people who have died: Ismael Ayala Uribe, Oscar Duarte Rascon, Lorenzo Antonio Batres Vargas, Chao Feng Gay, Xian Jun Fan, Isidro Perez, Johnny Noviello, Jesus Molina Vella, Abelardo Evienda Delgado. Marie Angie Blaze. Non Nyuk Nguyen. Brian Rayo Garzon. Maxime Cherniak. Serawit Gezheng Dejen. Jean-Marie Ruiz Guillen. Ramesh Amachand. Pankaj Karan Singh Kataria. Jose Manuel Sanchez Castro. Santos Reyes Beningas. Gabriel Garcia Aviez. Jose Castro Riviera. Silverio Villegas Gonzalez. Jaime Alanis Garcia. Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez. I stand here this evening because I and my colleagues refuse to allow the government to sweep these deaths under the carpet. The Monrovia City Council's silence on Carlos Roberto Montoya's death is deafening. My questions for the City Council this evening are: what progress has been made on securing the report investigating the circumstances resulting in Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez's death? 2, how can my colleagues work with the City Council to secure an appropriate site for the erection of a lasting memorial for Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez and the 23 other people who have died as a result of ICE actions? And 3, when is the City Council going to stand up to the authoritarian actions of this federal government and denounce the ICE raids and secure justice for Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez? As Mahatma Gandhi said, the true measure of any society can be found in how it treats its most vulnerable members. I stand for justice. I stand for compassion. Where do you stand? Yo soy Carlos Roberto Montoya Valdez. Thank you.
That is all the speaker cards we have. Is there anyone else wanting to address the City Council on items not on our agenda? Not seeing any, then I will close that portion of our meeting and we will move on to our public hearings. But before I do that, I wanted to ask Mr. Feek if he had any comment, if he wanted to address any of the public comment items.
The public comment period is reserved for community members to come and address the council for items that are not on the agenda. The city is not, we do not participate in either responding or answering questions or even having a dialogue. I think the only comments I would make at this time is when members of the public come and address council, particularly tonight, concerns related to community media of the foothills. The listening public in the room and at home do not have the benefit of past conversations or discussions that the city has had. When allegations were made around public funds that the city uses to provide a public access studio and record meetings like this one, the city promptly investigated. We used our independent auditor to review processes, procedures, and finances of Community of the Foothills. They at the conclusion of that audit, we provided all of the information to any member of the public who would like to see. If anyone's listening at home would like to know more information, please feel free to reach out to me. I would categorically dispute the comments that were shared here this evening, and I think that's my comment.
Thank you very much. I did want to add for those, in terms of our community, our prayer at the beginning of our meeting, we do encourage anyone to come forward. In fact, we sometimes have difficulty filling that position, but if there's anyone that wants to come forward or volunteer, I encourage you to contact our city clerk for that position, and we encourage all to be involved. With that, I'm going to go ahead then, and we are going to begin our public hearings, and we are going to start with PH1 to conduct a public hearing on the proposed establishment of the Monrovia City-wide Lighting Landscape and Parks Maintenance Assessment District, number 2025-1. And so may we please have Ray Bowman, we have here this evening from staff, and she will be providing the report.
Perfect.
Ray.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor Shevlin, members of City Council, and members of the public who are joining us this evening. Thank you for your time. Tonight's public hearing is for the proposed Monrovia Citywide Lighting, Landscaping, and Parks Maintenance Assessment District number 2025-1. This evening, our engineering consultants from NBS have joined us. Sarah Maris, the Chief Operating Officer from NBS, is joining us via Zoom, and our senior consultant on the project, Sandra Burkhart, is here in person with us tonight, as well as Amanda, who is at the NBS table right outside council chambers. On that note, if anyone is in the audience needing to submit their ballot, you may do so through the ballot box located in the lobby, or if you need a replacement ballot, you may also request that from Amanda in the back. So as council is aware, we've been reviewing information related to the proposed district and have held several study sessions and presentations. And we've been working with council, our engineering partners at NBS, and the city attorney's office to complete the necessary proceedings for the proposed district. This evening, we will be conducting the public hearing. These assessment district proceedings are being undertaken pursuant to the Landscaping and Lighting Act of 1972, Article 13D of the California Constitution, and Assembly Bill AB 2257. So tonight, I'll provide a brief review of the proposed district and the engineer's report. I'll review the timeline and steps of the Prop 218 balloting procedures and provide information related to the public hearing. And some of these slides may look familiar as we've reviewed the information previously. This evening, we are seeking council's consideration of all oral and written testimony, objections and written responses to objections, close the public hearing, and direct staff to proceed with the next steps, which is tabulating the ballots. Ballot tabulation is scheduled to be held back here in council chambers tomorrow, November 19th, starting at 9 a.m. As a quick review, an assessment district is an area where property owners agree to pay assessments in order to fund improvements that directly benefit that area. The City of Monrovia currently has two existing districts, the Park Maintenance District, or PMD, and the Lighting and Landscaping Maintenance District, or LLMD. These two districts have been in place since the 90s, and although the PMD allows for annual CPI increases, the LLMD does not, and has remained unchanged for over 30 years. Because costs have increased over time, the assessment revenues collected have not kept pace, and so the city's been subsidizing the shortfall of over $1 million annually to help fund those costs, and costs continue to go up. As you can imagine, doing this over the span of the last few decades, the deficit has grown, and that's why we're doing this now. Staff has been working with NBS for over 2 years to evaluate and prepare the information for the proposed district. The proposed district is also one of the last remaining items in our fiscal resiliency plan, ensuring that funds that should be self-sustaining can do so, which we started talking about back in 2018. Staff and the City Council met for multiple study sessions between February and April, and during those study sessions, City Council reviewed the preliminary analysis from NBS and provided direction to move forward with the proposed district. On April 15, the City Council provided the direction to phase in the proposed assessments over a 5-year period in order to reduce the financial impacts of the rates on property owners. The direction was that if we have to do this, let's do this in the least impactful way. On September 2nd, Council approved ordering the engineer's report, and staff worked with NBS to incorporate the 5-year phase-in period and the most current property roll data. And on September 16th, Council reviewed and approved the engineer's report, approved the mailing of notices and ballots, and set the time and date of the public hearing. Article 13D, which is also known as Prop 218, imposes substantive and procedural requirements for imposing the assessment, including holding a noticed public hearing, conducting an assessment ballot proceeding, and determining whether a majority protest exists based on the tabulation of the assessment ballots submitted and not withdrawn. I did want to note that if this proposed district is approved, the existing districts go away and they're replaced by the new district. If the proposed district is not approved, the existing districts stay in place and the city will need to determine options for addressing the deficit. On this slide, I wanted to provide a few key points about the engineer's report. State law guides how the engineer's report should be completed, and Article 13D requires that assessment districts identify the properties that receive the benefit, separate general versus special benefit, calculate each property's share of the benefit, ensuring a fair methodology, and lastly, that publicly owned parcels need to pay their fair share. As Council will recall from previous discussions, the city is responsible for costs related to general benefit, which refers to the overall public benefit to the broader community rather than to specific property owners. The general benefit for the proposed district is 19.33%. So in short, property owners will only pay for the special benefits for their property, and the city pays for the general benefits. The city is also required to pay for its fair share of the special benefits for city-owned facilities. There are no exempt properties. As we've previously discussed with Council, the assessment rates were designed with the following benefits in mind: street lighting, traffic signals, trees, landscaping, and parks and recreational facilities provide the benefits of improved safety and accessibility, improved aesthetics and livability, as well as increased economic activity. NBS evaluated these benefits and designed rates by factoring in lot characteristics and land use classification. Each parcel is assigned special benefit points, which factors in land use and lot size to determine the proposed assessment amounts. Based on Council's direction from previous meetings, NBS completed the engineer's report with a 5-year phase-in structure. Each parcel's assessment will have 2 components. The first is the administrative allocation rate per parcel, which is the top row on this table. This covers administrative costs for the district. And the second row is the special benefit assessment rate per parcel, per special benefit point. I did want to point out that these rates represent the maximum rates for the 5-year phase-in period. After the initial 5 years, these rates will be subject to an annual CPI increase, not to exceed 4%. And as a note, even though these rates represent the maximum assessments that the city can charge, annual engineers' reports will still be required each year, meaning if costs go down, the assessment rates charged to property owners can be lower than these rates. The rates for the 5-year phase-in period do take into account a CPI inflator to ensure that the rates keep pace with the increasing costs to maintain the district during the phase-in period. This slide includes an overview of the proposed district's cost. The district's cost is the top row on this table. The city's general benefit responsibility is on the second row, and the net of both of those is on the third row. The fourth row shown here in green is the proposed assessment revenue we expect to collect, and the blue bottom row at the bottom of the table is the city subsidy. You'll notice that the city will subsidize costs for the next 4 years during phase-in, and the proposed assessments are estimated to fully cover costs for the district by fiscal year 3031. I did want to note that the revenue collected in 26-27 at 50% phase-in is more than we are currently collecting for the existing districts. This slide here includes a timeline for the proposed district. On September 26, public notices and ballots were sent out to property owners. Between September and November, staff focused on outreach. This included utility bill inserts, information on the city manager's weekly updates, and a webpage dedicated to providing information for the community. We also met with several community partners during this outreach period. And November 10th was the deadline to submit written objections as part of the exhaustion of administrative remedies process. AB 2257 provides for an exhaustion of administrative remedies procedure, which requires persons and entities to submit a written objection that specifies the grounds for alleging noncompliance of the proposed assessment with Prop 218 prior to the deadline established by the City Council, or be barred from any right to challenge the assessment through a legal proceeding. The City Council established November 10th as the deadline for the submittal of written objections. Tonight, the 18th, is the public hearing, and all ballots must be received by the close of the public hearing. Tomorrow, November 19th, the City Clerk's office, with the assistance of NBS, will complete the ballot tabulation, and if needed, tabulation can continue to the next day, November 20th. and the declaration of results is tentatively scheduled for December 2nd. And again, if the proposed district does not get approved, the existing districts will remain in effect. In accordance with Prop 218 and AB 2257, the city mailed notice of the public hearing to the record owners of the assessable parcels in the proposed district. The notice was mailed on September 26, 45 days prior to the November 10th deadline for the submission of written objections. Each notice included an assessment ballot, which you see pictured here, a summary of the procedures for completion, return, and tabulation of the assessment ballots, and the requirements for submitting a written objection to the proposed assessment. The ballots included information about each parcel, and we've asked property owners to complete the ballots by clearly marking one of the two squares on their ballots. Yes, I'm in favor, or no, I'm opposed. Those ballots could be mailed in the enclosed return envelope provided or dropped off in person, sealed to the city clerk's office. Again, all ballots must be with the city clerk by the close of tonight's public hearing. And if anyone is here to turn in their ballots or request for a replacement ballot, NBS has set up a table right outside council chambers to assist you with that. And you may step outside to do so now if you'd like. As a note, ballots will be weighted based on the proposed assessment amount. So $1 of assessment counts as one ballot weight point. We wanted to make sure the property owners had access to information. We included inserts in our utility bills between September and October, information in the city manager updates, and we also had a webpage dedicated solely for the district, which included an interactive parcel map to give property-specific assessment information. We also had a dedicated phone line to answer questions and staff who personally met with property owners who had questions. In summary, a new combined district is being proposed to create a fair and financially stable structure to maintain the city's lighting, landscaping, street trees, and parks. The proposed district is supported by a certified engineer's report. And in order to reduce the financial impacts to the community, the City Council has decided to phase in the assessment rates over 5 years. This means the city will continue to subsidize the district for the first 4 years until assessments are fully phased in by 2031. At that point, rates are anticipated to fully cover the costs of the district. If the proposed district is approved, it will still be subject to completion of an engineer's report each year per Prop 218 requirements and subject to annual proceedings. During the public hearing this evening, the City Council will receive and consider written and oral testimony from all interested persons. In addition, the City Council will consider the written objections received by the November 10th deadline and the city's responses to those written objections. Assessment ballots may be submitted, withdrawn, or changed during the public hearing prior to the close of the public hearing. If the City Council concurs, the appropriate motion would be to accept and consider all oral and written testimony, objections, and written responses to timely submitted objections, close the public hearing, and direct staff to tabulate the assessment ballots at the designated time, date, and place. And that concludes my portion.
Thank you very much. Any questions of staff at this time? We will be opening the public hearing, and we will be taking oral and written objections. Then we will proceed now with, I am opening the public hearing. It is now open, but prior to calling the first speaker, could we please have, we will consider timely written objections and the city's responses to those objections. May we have the summary of those, please?
Of course. So the city received 5 timely submitted written objections from 3 people by the November 10th deadline for the submittal of written objections. Pursuant to AB 2257, the city must consider and respond in writing to any timely submitted written objections prior to the close of the public hearing, and the objections and responses must be presented to the City Council for its consideration at or prior to the public hearing. The written responses were prepared by city staff, the city's assessment engineer, NBS Government Finance Group, and the city attorney's office. And the written objections and the written responses have been provided to the City Council as Exhibits A and B respectively to draft resolution number 2025-58, which is included in the agenda materials for this evening. In accordance with AB 2257, the written response to each written objection explains the substantive basis for retaining the proposed assessment in response to the objection. Each written response also includes the council's determinations that the written objection and written response do not warrant any clarification to the proposed assessment, do not warrant a reduction or modification of the proposed assessment, do not require further review before making a determination on whether clarification or reduction is needed, and that it is appropriate to proceed with the public hearing and ballot tabulation. As mentioned, both exhibits have been included as part of draft resolution number 2025-58. Staff and representatives of NBS are available if the City Council has any questions regarding the written responses. And if the Council concurs with the written responses, it's appropriate at this time to accept and consider public testimony. The Council will consider adoption of resolution number 2025-58 at its December 2nd meeting.
Any questions of staff regarding the written objections and our responses? Not hearing any, then I will proceed then, and we will have public testimony. Do we have any speakers? And the city clerk will announce those, and you can come up to the podium. Oh, and you have, thank you, Larry. Your comments, please, if you can keep those to 3 minutes each. Thank you.
Beginning with Lynn Lewis.
Good evening.
Good evening. Lynn Lewis, Bradbury Road, Monrovia. Just want to thank you that you're at least doing this over 5 years and not throwing it. For me, it would be an extra $300 a year in tax assessment for a fairly small private ownership, single dwelling house. I can only imagine some of the other properties that have larger ones, that this will be quite a burden for them. I do feel like maybe this is a circumvention from Prop 13 that will not take into some kind of account that older people that are on fixed income, me being one, that this kind of circumvents Prop 13. I don't know if that's true or not, but I'm just kind of wondering, we got into $1 million deficit for how many years was that? I mean, I know it took you 2 years to kind of figure out what we're going to do, but it just seems like that was needed to be fixed a little bit sooner. Anyways, and I am concerned that homeownership for young people is getting even more and more difficult. I'm actually, what I do to my property taxes, I have to take out of my IRA so much money every year mandated by the government. My whole IRA almost went to pay my property taxes, and that's kind of how I've been dealing with paying my property taxes every year. I don't know what other people are doing. So my request to you is to really take a look at the budget of this city and really, do a little Doge on it, maybe. Maybe we need a little Elon Musk here to figure out, some of the expenses that maybe we don't need to do in Monrovia, so that the taxpayers that are paying taxes every year can get a little bit of their burden, released. I know Florida, I just heard Florida today is not going to charge any of their people property taxes anymore. I don't know how they're going to do it, but I don't know. Anyways, thank you for listening, and I appreciate you guys. I know it's a big job running this city, running any government area, but I just want to make sure you're maybe doing a fiscal responsibility for us poor property owners that work hard and pay our taxes.
Thank you.
Thomas Dewar.
Good evening.
Thomas Dewar, City Council and residents of Monrovia. I'm here to oppose the proposed assessment district. I submitted a no vote. But first of all, I'd like to thank Monrovia for the improvements already made to our lights, parks, and streets. Earlier this year, I came to the City Council and complained about the street lights not working after a friend of mine hit a pedestrian with his car on a particularly poorly lighted Mayflower Avenue. After significant effort, these lights were finally repaired by the city staff in Edison. But Monrovia went above and beyond and fixed all the lights in Monrovia. It's like Christmas came early. All the lights are brighter. The lights don't flicker, they burn steady and consistent. I was very surprised. I also want to thank Monrovia for reopening and improving Canyon Park, and also for opening the Wilderness Reserve in the hills above Monrovia and building and upgrading many parks that my family have enjoyed over the years. I could go on, but the point I want to make is Monrovia has done all these improvements with the current budget and capital stream. Why tax us more? A few other reasons I think this proposed amendment district stinks. Number one, the way this ballot has been rolled out is sneaky. It's not following the standard voting protocol that we come to expect by getting a ballot in June and November. Instead, it comes to us looking like normal junk mail that would easily be thrown away. Many of our residents may have thrown out their ballots without looking at them. Probably yes. Do you know did they know that their tax assessment, if passed, will escalate quickly to 3 to 5 times what they are paying now? Probably no. And now, a public hearing just a day before the ballots are counted. Is this assessment legal? Does it violate Prop 218, which requires property assessments to provide specific benefits to individual parcels, not just general community benefits? Is this a good time to raise taxes significantly? Residents are already plagued with inflation in our most normal costs of groceries, gas, utilities, insurance, housing. It feels like Monrovia is just piling on. Is this assessment fair? Not only because it's alarmingly steep, but especially because this assessment appears to be based not on individuals' usage or consumption, but on property value. I consider this discriminatory. A person may have a high-value property, but are living on a fixed or low income, like many of our retired people in this city. The assessment leans on the redistribution of costs and collective benefits over individual benefits. This practice essentially introduces the principles of socialism to a once business-friendly town. Government entities use its policies to burden citizens and businesses to enrich.
Tom, can you wrap it up, please?
Okay, what about Measure K? You have, over the last 5 years, 19 million have been approved to be spent. A little over 6 million have been spent, and a whopping 31 million sit in Measure K Bank. Why not use this fund, which has already been assessed to improve our lights, streets, parks, and landscaping? Thank you. Let's have a thankful month this month with no new tax increases.
Mike Johnson.
Hi, good evening, City. I was one who submitted a legal objection to this because I do think it does not satisfy the requirements of Prop 218. But besides that, I agree with what's been said here. This is just way too much of an increase. California especially, the nation as a whole, is seeing an affordability crisis. Monrovia should be doing its part to try to help that, not make it worse. Increasing property taxes 400, 500%, sometimes up to almost 1,000%, just is the wrong thing to do at the wrong time. And I want the city to also clarify what people might not be hearing, that this does not solve the deficit issue. That even if this passes, the city is still going to be spending nearly $1 million a year to cover the district. So you need to clarify that with everybody so they know that this does not accomplish what the city intended to accomplish. I see Mr. Belden shaking his head, but do you disagree with that?
This is not a two-way dialogue. Please proceed.
Okay, well, thank you, but you need to clarify that this does not solve that issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
WD?
Good evening.
I have been a resident of Monrovia since 1947. My grandfather and my father are Monrovians, or were, and I'm a second-generation Californian. I'm also a property owner in Monrovia. I have rental property, and as we all know, those expenses that I incur are passed on to my tenants. So I asked them if they would like to pay more rent to pay for this, I guess, lighting and parks, whatever. You know what their answer was? No. And that's my answer too. As a retired citizen, I looked forward to having Prop 13 help me to afford to stay in my home. This is simply a way to get around Prop 13 to get more money out of property owners. I think if you ask each property owner if they want to increase their taxes for this, I think in these times now, I would say we have higher priorities. My tenants are more concerned with putting food on the table, buying gas, and surviving in these economic times. I'm really surprised that you come up with something like this. I vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. That is our last speaker card. Is there anyone else wanting to address this? Please, if you want to speak, could you come up, state your name? And I see another gentleman coming up.
It's Eric Vaughn. I'm a double property owner here, and my only question was, in the wording for what you're going to count the ballots, it's said that the yeas outweigh the nays, then it passes. That's a 50-50 simple majority. What I read on the computer for Prop 218, it has to be a 2/3 majority vote. So I don't know what that deal is on that.
I'm going to take all the public comment, and then we'll address the questions. Thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, council members, and city staff. Thank you for your time this evening. After reviewing the engineer report, I do see a need for reassessment for our city lighting and landscaping and park maintenance assessment. I'm not here to oppose that. I am happy to pay my fair share to support the services that make Monrovia safe, beautiful, and functional. My focus tonight, though, is how we spend those funds and whether or not we're doing so that builds a long-term value for our community. This report defines in section 2.1 the quote-unquote improvements as maintenance and operation, servicing the public street lighting facilities, including all the works and improvements used and useful for the lighting in public places, including ornamental standards, luminaires, poles, supports, tunnels, manholes, etc., within the boundaries of the district. That reads like a catalog of maintenance tasks, not a plan for upgrades that reduce costs or improve systems of performance. And that's reflected in the financials. The utility spend projections below show the utility spend projections show steady increases. In fiscal year 2026 to 2027, it shows an increase of $857,000, and then in fiscal year 30 to 31, it's $965,000. Those rising figures are consistent with maintaining the current load and obligations, not with realizing any energy savings. Additionally, there are excess maintenance savings on doing an upgrade that are not in this assessment. If we are not investing in the efficiency and improvements, it makes sense that we are not seeing those savings. But that also means we're not locking in locking in higher operating costs for the future and missing an opportunity to stretch every dollar further. That's why I respectfully ask the council to consider tabling this measure briefly, requesting 3 additions to this report. A clear baseline of the current annual energy and operating and maintenance costs, and a 5-year projection with and without the proposed work. A life cycle cost comparison for major asset groups showing expected service life and replacement frequency and a total cost over the 10 and 20-year periods. A short comparison of the current delivery model versus an energy performance contract, including examples of guaranteed savings and risk transfer. I want to emphasize the last point. Energy performance contracting is a proven model used by cities and school districts across the country. It ties payment to delivered results. It allows upgrades to be financed through future savings, and it shifts performance risk away from the city. Even if it's not the right fit for this measure, I believe it is a tool that Monrovia should have in its toolkit, especially as we plan for long-term resilience and fiscal responsibility. I'm not here with any financial interest. I'm here because I care about the city, and I'm happy to volunteer my time and experience in whatever capacity is helpful, whether that's reviewing numbers, helping evaluate delivery models, or simply supporting staff and council and helping make Monrovia the best place possible in the valley to live. Thank you again for your time and consideration to the service of our community.
And sir, can we have your name for the record?
My name is Jason Samueli.
Thank you. Good evening. Could you please state your name for the record? Thank you.
Hi there, good evening. My name is Wesley with Sizeco Energy Solutions. I've had the opportunity to speak with City Manager Dillon, and I'm excited and actually very encouraged in how much commitment he has towards the city and the conversations we've had about this prop. I understand this has been developed thoughtfully with the citizens in mind over the last, I think, 7 years you mentioned, which is a lot of time and effort you guys have put in to make this something that, makes sense and works for the citizens and allows you guys to move forward with what you're trying to get done. Sizeco Energy Solutions has a strong background in helping cities modernize their facilities and your utilities in a strategic, cost-effective way and helps reduce pressure on your general fund. I would appreciate the opportunity to meet with the city and see how we can complement the goals of this prop and generate additional savings and lessen the financial impacts on your citizens over the time of this loan. I'll leave my business card with you after the meeting, and I appreciate your time. Thank you for your service to the community.
Thank you. Anyone else wanting to address the city council at this time, please come forward and state your name for the record. Hi.
Good evening, City Council and neighbors. My name is Alan, and I'm a resident for over 30 years in Monrovia. And during that time, I've seen my income tax or property tax more than double. And I would remind the council that we're still paying for the paving and all the road work that was done, which is a long-term commitment that comes out of our property tax. My question is, with all the new construction that's going on here around the metro line and the buildings being built, is there not new revenue coming into the city that would help with these expenses? Where is that property tax and money going that could help the residents that are on fixed income and are basically, as some of the neighbors said before, that they're struggling just to pay for their fuel, their gas, and maybe even some of them still have mortgages that are active. I just challenge the city to think about it again. I agree that we should set back and maybe wait and talk about this proposal over a longer period of time. Thank you.
Thank you. Again, anyone wanting to speak to the council on this item? Okay. But before I close the public hearing, may we have no, excuse me, I went a little too fast here. I want to announce a final opportunity to submit, withdraw, or change assessment ballots. And as Ms. Bowman explained, there's a table out there if anyone wants to submit their ballot, if they want to change their ballot, withdraw their ballot, whatever they want to do with their ballot out there. And because we don't have anyone else here, further persons wishing to testify, this is the final opportunity. Could you please provide your name, please?
Yes, my name is Martha Razo, and I'm here as a representative for my father, Rogelio Razo, who owns 3 properties in Monrovia. He's been a resident here since 1960, and I've been a resident here all my life. And a couple things I had questions on that a lot of these people have really answered for me, which is great. One, you talk about all the workshops that you did, that you put information out there for us to know, but I never got anything. You say you put it into the thing for the water, but if you're paperless, you won't get it. And so how am I supposed to know about the workshops to come and ask and find out? And then you say you put it on the website, dedicate a phone number, but you don't put out that information. You didn't mail out anything to the property owners specifically for this. So how am I supposed to find out? Except when you mailed out the ballot, which is a month before we have to vote. Second, it doesn't have a time frame of when this committee ends. It says it will end, and it won't end until there's a vote from you guys to end it or reassess it again. And then the $1 million you're gonna save in 4 years that you were subsidizing, where's that gonna go afterwards? You guys are gonna put it into something else. It's not gonna help us, and it's gonna increase the property tax again. So I just had questions on that, because I get the mail all the time, 3 properties, 3 chances, and I didn't get any of that information. So it would have been nice to know, maybe get there, listen to what it is, but it's just a lot. And especially you guys do it right now during Christmas, holidays, and everything that's going on. I don't understand why it wasn't on the ballot on November 4th. It would have been so easy. Everybody would have known. But like the gentleman said, you get that, it just looks fake. You just rip it up and throw it away. Why would you waste time looking at it? And I don't know if any of you are involved or, with all these people that are supposed to be helping us, MBS. I mean, I don't know them. I don't have any information on them. So, I really hope that it doesn't pass, because like the other gentleman said, the other 2 companies are doing really good for the last how many years? Since 1991. Why change it now? They're fixing all the lighting, everything's better. So what's the point of it now? We needed that 30 years ago, not now. But I just needed to speak my piece, because again, he's on a fixed income, and that's a lot of money for 3 properties. Thank you.
Thank you. Edie?
Thank you. My name's Edie Ramirez. Just real quick, I have a problem with the fact that my vote is only for 1 vote, while somebody who has a property that's 4 times larger than mine gets 4 votes. I don't think that's fair at all. I agree with the lady who just spoke. A lot of people who get their water bill, who don't get a water bill, it's done automatically. They had no idea this was coming. This is something, I agree with the other gentleman, this is something that should have been done with the general election. It's just something that's just thrown upon us with no advance. Well, we had some advance notice, yes, but just something this big that affects so many people in such a adverse way, it's just something that we need more time with. We need to have a better system. It's a bad effect on a lot of people. It's not fair the way it's being graded, and I just don't like it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, one last time. Anyone else wanting to provide public input? Yes, please come forward. If anyone else wants to, maybe you could sit right here in this front row and we'll bring you up. If anyone else wants to after this gentleman.
Yeah, thank you, council, and thank you, neighbors.
Your name, please.
Oh, my name is Brian Lin, and I've been here for 10 years. So I agree with a lot of what the neighbors said. There are also a few things that I found is really strange. You guys hire an MBS engineering firm doing the study for this property tax increase. But at the same time, they are also the one helping you guys to count tomorrow's ballot. I see there's a conflict of interest. Very clear, super clear, okay? And number two, okay? You guys maybe should start auditing the park department and the lighting department to see if there are any waste, fraud, and abuse that's been going on. Or if there's nothing, it's even better. You can give assurance to all the citizens that's paying you guys, okay? And another thing would be, someone mentioned about whatever the KGM TV station, whatever that is. And you guys mentioned there's an audit report released already. If it's an audit report, you should be putting on your website, not asking people to pull your teeth to give to people. Just like the public company you see in the New York Stock Exchange, NASDAQ. Their public report is all can be downloaded. So if you guys ever did any audit, it should be on your website, period. We shouldn't be asking you guys to pull the teeth and send us email, whatever. That's what I think, okay? And one last thing. If you guys live in Monrovia, if you look at your property tax, there's a special line for 0.13 tax already for city of Monrovia. Where does that money go? Why can those money not being spent on these lighting taxes, park taxes? If you look at the Arcadia property tax, Duarte property tax, they do not have a specific line for that city, except for Monrovia, which I found it very interesting. So if you can think about all these, and maybe just like one of the neighbors says, have some kind of Elon Musk doing a magic to, doing audits. So.
Thank you. Okay, again, this is a last call for your submitting your ballot or withdrawing your ballot. Again, whatever you want to do with your ballot with the ladies that are outside from NBS. You could also, if you want, you could even bring your ballot up here to the front here with Alice, and she will be glad to take it. After I officially close the public hearing, you will not be able to submit a ballot, and they will not be counted. So I'm not seeing any movement here. So you can cast, if you deliver it to, you must get up right now, go out to the back, and anyone that needs to deliver their ballot, please get up now and go to either the back of the room, or you can bring it up here to Alice. So if you need to actually submit your ballot, please do it at this time. Or you can give it to Alice here as well. I'm looking for any further movement again. Yes, sir? You will. Just, okay. I'm not seeing anyone else move. Last time, if you need to submit your ballot, please do so now. Okay, I am now.
So raise the hand.
Yes.
If we wanted to see a balance sheet for the city of Monrovia, where can we find that?
That we'll address that in just a second. Right now, I want to make sure everyone who needs to submit their ballot has done so. Okay, then I am going to close the public hearing at this time. Or before I close the public hearing, then we have an announcement regarding the tabulation of the ballots. And Ms. Bowman, if you could please do that.
Of course. So due to the large number of assessment ballots that have been submitted, the ballot tabulation will not take place this evening. The tabulation will occur tomorrow, November 19th, starting at 9 a.m. If necessary, the ballot tabulation will continue on to the following day, November 20th, again starting at 9 a.m. The tabulation will occur here in the City Council chambers. The City Council has designated the city clerk, together with the assistance of city staff and NBS, working under the direction of the city clerk to tabulate the assessment ballots. All interested persons may be present during the tabulation and monitor the accuracy of the tabulation process.
Okay. And that is an open process, so again, you can come and watch them count the ballots if you so choose. And that's tomorrow at 9 a.m. here in these council chambers. Okay, the public hearing is now closed, and I want to go back. I know you were taking lots of notes, Mr. Feek. If you could please address some of the questions that were posed in the public comment.
I
Public
think the approach we're going to take is I'm going to start with city attorney addressing some of the legal questions and implications. I'll see if Ray and I will kind of tag team the staff side. We're going to refer to some of the attachments and the documents that are part of the public hearing agenda packet, which a lot of the answers can be found there. And we'll start that way. And if there's anything that we miss, we'll just ask council to draw that out. So start with Mr. Steele.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the council. Starting with the last question that was just asked a minute ago about, I think the question was balance sheet, and I'm not an accountant, so I'll just point out that all of the city's financial reports are available on the website. I'm looking at the website right now under the Administrative Services tab. We've got budgets as well as historical budgets going back probably 8 or 10 years, the annual financial reports, the quarterly updates that are prepared and presented publicly to the city council. So anybody who wants to see any of the financials, including the financials that are done for the accounts that are paid for by the existing assessment, those are on the city's website. They've always been on the city's website. So anybody who wants to take a look at that, it's available as we speak. I've got it up in front of me.
City Attorney, some of those are audited reports, right?
Pardon me?
Some of those are audited reports as well?
Yeah, the annual financial reports are all audited.
Okay.
And there's an audit every year, and there's a public presentation every year of the city's annual financial audit. The city has gotten an award from the Government Finance Officers Association for financial reporting for over 10 years consecutively. I think it's longer than that, right, Ray? But that's a public process that's presented to the city council in a meeting like this every year. And again, those are available on the website. In terms of the questions related to kind of roughly defined as property taxes, and a question regarding this being some sort of effort to get around Prop 13. I think some history is necessary. Prop 13 was adopted by and was pushed forward by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association in the 70s, and that was a proposition that solely related to the percentage tax rate for property taxes in the state. Prop 218 was a follow-on, also qualified and pushed by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association in the 90s, which was expressly designed to break out different kinds of government charges. This process that we're undertaking now is required by Prop 218. It was intended to be separate from the property tax process by the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association, the folks who wrote Prop 13. So this process is not an attempt to circumvent Prop 13. It is exactly the process that the Howard Jarvis Taxpayers Association and the voters who adopted Prop 218 required. The difference is Prop 13 relates to property taxes, and that's just a straight rate based on valuation. It's called an ad valorem rate that everybody pays based on the value of their property. By definition, in Prop 218, an assessment like this one is not a property tax. It is an assessment based on benefits that are applicable to particular properties. As the engineer's report provides for, in this case, the engineer went through and determined that there are general benefits from these kinds of facilities that are applicable across the city and to everybody who visits the city. And I think that was about a 19 or 20% of the total expenditure. That's excluded from the assessment. And then it went through and determined special benefits, which are essentially the benefits that apply to each parcel of property from having streetlights, well-maintained parks, et cetera. That's in the engineer's report. We have not received any objections or comments that really substantively question that methodology or the percentages that were determined in the engineer's report. So there was a question about why a two-thirds vote doesn't apply. That's because the two-thirds vote in Prop 13 and Prop 218 apply to special taxes, special property taxes. So folks may know that they pay, for example, a property tax for the library project. That was imposed by the voters many years ago. That went through an election that required a two-thirds vote because it's a property tax, by definition under Prop 218. There's also a tax for the Hillside Wilderness Preserve that was adopted by the voters. It's because it's a special tax as defined in Prop 13 and in Prop 218, and the election vote was required. A vote at a general election is not required for an assessment district. That's just the law. We don't decide that. The voters decided that when they adopted Prop 218. We have to follow that process. There also was a couple of comments about introducing a new system, that this is somehow a new concept. This is not a new concept, as other speakers noted. These assessments have been around for 30 years. We went through this process in the 90s to impose these assessments at the time. Unfortunately, they were imposed in a way that doesn't keep up with the increasing costs of providing these services. And the City Council has been informed for years that the costs were increasing while the assessment amounts were staying the same. And that's just an unsustainable, obviously, model. But there is no new model, there is no new concept here. These assessments exist. People who've lived here and owned property here anytime between now and the 90s have paid these assessments, and they've had those assessments on their property tax bill throughout that time. And just to reiterate the last question that I wanted to again answer, there were questions about whether there have been audits of the Park Department or the Public Works Department. The answer to that is yes. There's an audit of the city every single year, and that's a public process. That document is published. It's available to anybody who wants to look at it. Those are the questions that I had notes of that I thought should be responded to.
I'll address a couple items that I made note of. One, timeline. The city began the process for consideration of a change to the assessment district long ago. And as we've been working with NBS, which the city entered into a contract with NBS, I believe it was last year, to really help us take us through and up until this point. Part of the contracted services agreement is that they will actually help us conduct the actual tabulation and calculation in a space here, as was mentioned earlier. There was no intent of us to, distract or do it during the middle of a holiday season. We simply had to provide notice to every parcel affected. So in addition, the city has had multiple public meetings and hearings over the course of the year. We've shared this information regularly in the Monrovia Today and the weekly city manager updates and all city formal communications, including the parcel-specific mailers that were mailed out to every homeowner. We've tried to do our very best to communicate. And the purpose for setting a date 45 days ahead of that mailer that goes to parcels is to give everyone a chance and a public notice that this is the date that we're going to hold the meeting, which per the law is one of the last steps before we actually start counting the ballots. So We've done our very best to try to notify the public as best as we can. We've even updated the website. We even created what I thought was quite unique. It was a property-specific map where people could look at current assessments and even what the 5-year implementation would be for their property. That was something that NBS did at our request, and I think it was a very helpful tool in understanding how property owners should be impacted.
One addition with regard to NBS, there was a question raised about a conflict of interest. And just to be clear about that, NBS has a contract to prepare the engineer's report, to help prepare the notice that went out to the public, and to tabulate the ballots. NBS does not have a contract to provide any of the work that would be paid for by this assessment, and they don't get paid more or less based on the result of the assessment. They're doing the work that was contracted for. That was a public session that approved that contract. The contract is out there for anybody to see if they want to, but they don't get anything more or less depending on the result of the assessment vote. So there is no conflict of interest.
Mr. Feek, I have a couple that weren't covered unless you had.
Oh, I've got more.
Okay, good.
I've got a list.
Got a long list.
Okay.
There's a comment made about ballots. You know, why is it, the comment was, it's not fair that I get 1 vote and my neighbor might get 4 if they have a bigger property. The way that the ballots are actually counted is weighted based on the dollar amount of the assessment that was predetermined. Some properties based on the calculation methodology that's applied evenly across the board does account for parcel size. So if a property owner has a larger parcel or receives a greater benefit from the assessment district, their property tax assessment could be greater. And so they factor in a weight to that ballot. So it's not he gets 4 votes, it's still 1 vote, but that vote is just weighted differently. In reviewing the costs of the assessment district, there's a chart that Ray had showed earlier. Today, as of today, the city is subsidizing significantly. But at the end of 5 years, based on our current projections of costs, we expect the city will be subsidizing not just over $1 million today, but $4 million. The largest cost drivers in the assessment district are first electricity, which Edison has increased rates, which apply to the city also 5 times in 2025 alone. The current methodologies for the assessment district do not account for that. And so we can't keep up with just the cost of electricity, but we also have to account for labor costs, equipment costs, water costs, and a variety of other factors that all go into maintaining our streetscapes and our parks.
Mr. Feig, then the question was that this assessment will not help our situation.
I think that's a matter of subjectivity to the person who made the comment. What the city did not prepare as part of the proposed assessment is a significant increase in upfront capital needs to make energy retrofits or upgrades. So for example, the project that Edison recently undertook to retrofit about 60% of the city streetlights was done because those were, one, Edison-owned facilities. They own all the equipment. And the city agreed to basically freeze the cost that we pay for the lights. So the energy savings would be reduced, but we would continue to pay the same dollar amount, which would cover the cost to put in the lights. It's about a 15-year payback, but the result is new modernized lighting, more energy efficient lighting, and it did not increase the city's budget and kind of locks in our bill for the next while. If the city were to do that to the 40% of the city streetlights, which are ours, that we're solely responsible for, the city would have to find capital costs to invest in that. To do our 1,400 lights would probably be $1 million plus the labor cost to put them in. So it's a pretty sizable. What we did not do as part of the proposed assessment was build in that upfront capital cost to make energy savings retrofits. The city is always considering cost savings, energy efficiency. We've done a lot of work with upgrading LED lighting in city facilities, water efficiency measures at all of our city facilities and parks, as well as a variety of other things.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
If this assessment district passes, do we have built into the calculations that say in 10 years we won't be in the same situation? In other words, the cost will increase to such a degree that they'll have to do something again to keep up with costs?
The challenge, that's a very hypothetical question, very hard to explain. What you're asking is, do I predict that however many years, 10 years from now, do I think we have enough revenue to cover the costs? Well, we're making some serious assumptions. Just like residents' costs are going up, the cost to run the city, the cost to keep the street lights on, the cost to maintain parks and streets is also going up. What I would say is, because the process to update the assessment district is this difficult and takes this amount of time, it doesn't happen very often, which is why we haven't done this in over 30 years, the city of Monrovia. Which is also why we haven't addressed this deficit, which if you add up $1 million deficit each year over the last 30 years, it adds up. And we're projecting that to grow exponentially greater. And we're going to have to consider funding sources, or, I don't think it's practical that we just start turning out streetlights. We'll have to find sources of revenue elsewhere. And I don't think it goes without saying that we're not trying to do that. We're trying to do that right now to minimize the deficit. But what we are currently projecting is that in 5 years alone, if we do nothing, it's a $4 million deficit, which is significant. That's almost 10% of our general fund. I think I could go into a whole variety of tangential things that we're doing to try to manage the city's finances in a responsible manner. But the city has needs outside of keeping the lights on and maintaining streets and parks. We have facilities, we have personnel that have to run our programs, we have a jail that's old, we have a whole variety and a long list of things where we're having to try to balance all these competing priorities. And the city's fiscal resiliency plan is based on this premise that we try to identify funding sources and vehicles to take care of those services that they provide. So in this case, the assessment district is trying to cover the cost to provide those specific types of service. A key component to this proposal is, because we haven't done anything in the last 30 years, to get us to where we need to be is a big, it's a big impact. The council had talked about phasing it in over 5 years, but still, it's a big impact. What we have tried to do is phase it in the best we can, bring us up to a point where we can sustain it and maintain it. And what it does include is an inflationary factor with a cap up to 4%. Just a reminder of council, it was only 2 and 3 years ago that we were seeing CPI of 8 and 9%. The whole community was feeling it. But from operating a city, we feel it too. And it was impacting the city's budget, which again is why the deficit continues to grow. But the point is, we've tried to build in what we thought were reasonable, practical ways to try to get us where we needed to be and help us moving forward. And I think that's, my hope is that answers the question the best it can.
Dylan, can I just
Yes, of course.
ask? I think there was a slide here, and I think that you mentioned it, but it may have gotten confusing to me when you said it, though. But the current proposed assessment, at least on this slide here, is estimated to fully cover costs by fiscal year 3031. Correct?
Yes, correct.
So that we will no longer be subsidizing this by 3031.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Correct. I spoke about notices. Energy efficiency upgrades, I kind of spoke to them, but I just want to point out that typically, as we look to ways to reduce costs, to be more efficient, or in ways of like improving energy efficiency, typically what comes with that is we identify particular projects. Sometimes it's upfront capital. The city has to front money to make upgrades. Sometimes there's a mechanism where we can partner with someone to make the improvements upfront, performance-based contracting, and the city basically sees the savings over time. Sometimes there's bonded financing. There's a variety of mechanisms. What we'll certainly continue to explore as options to reduce our costs. But as I've said before, the number one driver is Edison Electricity, and the distribution side is what is going up, and that's not something we can control. Let's see, transparency. There's a comment made about why doesn't the city just provide documents on the website? The city, one of the things that we do is we produce a lot of paperwork, hundreds of thousands of documents every year that, city clerk's office has to maintain in such a professional way. But it would just simply be too burdensome to put every single document on the city website. And you'd have trouble finding it if you can even find certain documents already that are posted on the website. There's just a voluminous amount of information that's out there. So I just want to be very clear. There is absolutely zero intent that the city ever, tries to hide. Cities are, we try to operate as transparently as possible. And so part of the reason why, I give out my personal cell phone number is if you're looking for a document or you want to know something, call us, reach out. It may be available online, or you might just know someone to call where you can get that information. So there's zero intent that we're trying to hide something or bury something. We want the public to have access to information of their city government. There's just a practical way to do it, and it would be overly burdensome to try to put everything out available online. I think those are the primary comments that I had on my sheet. Are there any additional? Yeah, if you have any additional, I'll be happy to answer.
I've got 3 of them. Measure K, why not? And there is a small percentage on your property tax bill, and that goes to fund public retirement fund. I don't know if that's what the gentleman was talking about, but if you maybe could expand a little bit on that small percentage on the property tax for that purpose. And then new construction, why aren't we getting enough revenue from the new construction?
Thank you, Becky. Measure K, local option sales tax began being collected in April of 2020. The reason that was approved was as a general purpose tax measure. The city has collected, up until this point, a considerable amount of money. We treat it as a separate pot of money. This money is paid through sales taxes, so not only residents, but people who primarily buy vehicles in the city of Monrovia, including those who buy vehicles elsewhere and register them in the city of Monrovia, primarily pay the sales tax in this city. The top 5 categories of sales taxpayers are vehicle businesses, including the lease portion and the purchase portion. That money is collected and set aside into a separate pot of money. The city council has approved spending plans for that. This was primarily projects related to either building the city's financial reserves during the last 5 years of pandemic and multiple recessions and 3 natural disasters, making sure that we had the reserves to be able to address Canyon Park repairs or fund necessary improvements at a time where, quite honestly, there was just a lot going on in the world. The other components, the council has approved several projects, including some projects to assist seniors in need, making sure that we're not displacing seniors from housing, providing meal and senior programming at the community center. They have funded almost $5.5 million for repairs to Mountain Avenue and Peck Road. If you haven't been on Peck Road recently, it's about as smooth as it's ever been. And that project has been in dire need of repair for some time. The city, while we made much progress on the Monrovia renewal and brought our roads up to among the best in the state, we also had significant needs still of roads that were unfunded and difficult to do. One of the challenges with bonding $57.5 million worth of public improvements is that your bonding capacity and your ability to pay is kind of tied up for the next 40 years. So as we look to future improvements and how we do these things, the city is left with very little residual income to do large projects like that. There are other projects in Measure K, including the the study and the engineering for the community center renovation project. We also have set aside money for the library enhancement project. There are several other projects, smaller in scale, that the council has set money aside for. And in the near future, the city will be considering a project to renovate the community center. This is our largest, most significant public facility that serves the most members of the public. It is probably somewhere between $30 and a $35 million project. But it is a 35 to 50 year long project, and whether the city bonds for it, pays cash for it, money like Measure K is also identified as funding sources for other needs in the city too. One of the things I see quite often is, why can't Measure K go for this? The city has competing needs and interests across the board, and I think one of the challenges that the city has, that the city council specifically, is you're in charge of the budget, and so you're constantly being tasked with trying to weight these competing priorities. and we make sure that we try to be as fiscally prudent and wise as we can. We try to do that in a way where we're coming and having public meetings. The city council, since the beginning of the pandemic, has had quarterly budget meetings. You all probably know the municipal budget better than any other elected officials in the San Gabriel Valley because we spend more time going over the budget. And I think that's just really important to note. So if people feel like they don't know or don't have answers or would like to know more, reach out and ask us. We can share a whole variety of information, get them involved so that they can learn more. Public retirement, Monrovia is one of, I believe, 5 cities in the state of California that back in the 1950s, residents voted on a specific parcel tax measure that had to be dedicated to pensions. This was done at a time where I think public sentiment around pensions was favorable, and the city and the residents wanted to ensure that we had adequate funding for public employees who would serve the community. Again, this is a very, very rare and unique parcel tax that will show up on people's annual property tax bill. When cities across the state are grappling with how do they fund increasing pension costs for first responders and public employees, while Monrovia still asks those same questions and has still made tremendous efforts and made a lot of decisions to be fiscally prudent, like asking our employees to contribute more for pension contributions, reducing their retirement benefits. We have made significant steps in asking employees to reduce their benefits and increase their costs. We also have the specific parcel tax, which make us the envy of many cities across the state of California.
Right, it doesn't cover everything, but
It doesn't cover everything, but what it does do is it provides a significant impact to the city's bottom line, which quite honestly, if we didn't have, we would be in a world of hurt, much like other cities. Finally, the new construction around Station Square and Goal Line. The city is very cognizant of the impact of new construction on the community. Excuse me. We will see increased economics for the community through the costs of, building permit fees, property tax increases, sales taxes if they sell something or sales tax. We'll see the workers, hundreds of workers at a time, will be shopping, wining, dining, staying at hotels here in the community. We'll see property tax valuations go up, which have helped. But we also task them with significant public improvements at the time the projects are improved. We require them to make any necessary upgrades to public utility systems, to the roadways. They contribute to our parks and open spaces and public art programs. We task them all. Any project with more than 5 units pays a 50% premium on their water and sewer rates. And we also, because they're all being built with new construction codes, they use about 1/5 of the water as your average single-family home in the city of Monrovia. So we force them to be very, very water conscious. These projects are also impacted by the assessment district. One property that I can think of, or that I'm specifically thinking of, currently has an annual assessment of $2,900 a year. Under this assessment methodology, their fair share is $30,000 a year, which is what's proposed. So we have even made sure to address what I think are, what I think is an unfair assessment and trying to correct those as well, making sure they pay the same fair share as your single-family homeowner. I think I answered all yours back here. Are there any other questions? If I can look across the way at Ray. Ray, did you have any notes on anything that I missed?
I think you covered a lot. But one of the comments mentioned this evening was the notion that even if this proposed assessment district does pass, that the city will still have a deficit because it still has to pay something. And I think it was around $800,000. I just wanted to clarify that figure is the city's general benefit, which Prop 218 requires us to separate general benefit from special benefit. And that general benefit, that estimated $800,000, is the responsibility of the city. I think that was it.
Thank you. And you're good? Okay, our next steps, Ms. Bowman, would you please inform us then about our next steps, and we will be coming back here on December 2nd.
Of course. Thank you so much. So the next steps include the ballot tabulation, which again will occur here in council chambers tomorrow at 9 a.m. And upon the completion of the tabulation of assessment ballots, the city clerk, with the assistance of NBS, will determine if a majority protest against the proposed assessment exists. A majority protest will exist if the assessment ballots submitted and not withdrawn in opposition to the proposed assessment exceeds the ballots submitted and not withdrawn in favor of the proposed assessment. In making this determination, each assessment ballot will be weighted by the amount of the assessment for the property for which the ballot is submitted. If there is a majority protest, the City Council cannot impose the assessment. After the tabulation of assessment ballots is complete, the City Council may consider Resolution Number 2025-58, adopting written responses to the timely submitted written objections. In the absence of a majority protest, the City Council may also consider a resolution forming the district and levying the assessment for fiscal year 26-27. The City Council is tentatively scheduled to consider both of these resolutions at its meeting on December 2nd, 2025.
Great, thank you. Then, at the close of this matter, we have accepted and considered all oral and written testimony, objections, and written responses to timely submitted written objections. We held our public hearing, closed the same, and have directed staff to tabulate the assessment ballots at the designated time, dates, and place, and then we will come back here then on December 2nd to consider the actual, find out what the tabulation is and the, in fact, did you want to comment on the actual announcement of the tabulation?
I don't know what it is.
Well, I know you don't, but I mean, the process of, do we have to wait until December 2nd?
So, thank you. I'm teasing.
That's okay.
The answer to your question is, tomorrow when we begin the count, we will be here, and anyone is welcome to come, as mentioned earlier. We'll work with NBS for when they not only collect and count the ballots, but also we'll probably want them just to verify, so there'll probably be a verification process. As soon as we know, we'll share that information. The meeting on the 2nd is kind of the formal step in the process, where we'll bring that back to City Council for the formal presentation of the information, but I see no reason why, if the city has information available, that we couldn't share that. There was another comment I was... The other thing I wanted to mention that wasn't brought up today is, based on the observations that we had made with the totes that we have here at City Hall for the ballots, the city, we estimate somewhere between 3,000 to 4,000 ballots that were received. So one thing I do want to I feel very confident in saying, when we reached out with as much outreach as we did do, we did receive a considerable response. I think that number of ballots was very surprising to us, and we're very grateful that we reached that many people, regardless of what the outcome is. But we'll share those results as soon as we can.
Okay, Mr. Steele, do we have to have an actual motion to do what I just said about accepting and considering all the oral and written testimony?
No, you've actually
Okay.
considered it. That consideration occurred in the public hearing.
Thank you very much. And I want to thank everyone for being here this evening and for your input on this matter. And please stay tuned, and by all means, come back on December 2nd when we will consider the actual resolution. So with that, we are moving on then to another public hearing. PH2, which is Amendment to Title 17 Zoning Code of the Monrovia Municipal Code to add Section 17.12.070 and amendment to Sections 17.04.080 and 17. There are a lot of codes there. It's relating to bungalow court development, introduction, and first reading of ordinance number 2025-11. And who is going to, Mr. Mayor?
It'll be myself. Thank you, and good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. A recent bungalow court project in Monrovia has showed us how important these small open-air features are in creating this authentic courtyard feel. And this ordinance gives us a clear way to support them in future projects. Tonight, I'll walk through what has prompted this ordinance, what it does, and how it supports Monrovia's long tradition of bungalow court housing, one of the city's most distinctive and beloved housing types. Bungalow courts are really part of Monrovia's DNA. They first appeared across Southern California in the early 1900s as a way to provide modest, affordable homes that still felt like single-family homes, single-family cottages. In these courtyard-style developments, the homes all faced a shared landscape courtyard, which gave residents a sense of privacy, but also created a real sense of community. And so in today's terms, these developments are considered early examples of the missing middle housing. Our historic context statement also describes bungalow courts as providing the privacy of a small dwelling in a shared semi-private landscape. The photo here shows Myrtle Court, one of Monrovia's historic examples. Another one is Harding Court on Foothill Boulevard, which we just saw a historic image of that in the previous slide, built in 1920. These developments really help define the charm and scale of our older community. Fast forward to today, there's been a renewed interest in this traditional housing style. In 2022, the Development Review Committee approved a bungalow court at 732 Mountain View Avenue, which was modeled after Pasadena's historic Gartz Court. The plan at 732 Mountain View features 4 cottages and 2 ADUs all around a central courtyard that was very well received by the City Council and also the preservation community. In fact, it even earned a mention from the Monrovia Old Housing Preservation Group as the right balance between housing, supply, and neighborhood character. So during construction of that 732 Mountain View project, the developer installed a decorative arbor to mark the courtyard entry. It looked great, but we discovered that the arbor is technically not allowed in the front yard under the way our code is written today. Our zoning code treats arbors and trellises the same as storage buildings and sheds and garages. They're just not permitted in the front yard. So that meant there was no clear way to approve a simple open-air decorative feature like this one. So this experience showed us that there's a small gap in our code that we could fix to better support bungalow court design. So the purpose of this ordinance tonight is just to fill that gap. It adds a new section to the zoning code, incentives for bungalow court development, and updates our minor exceptions section. It also formally defines what a bungalow court is for the first time in the zoning code, and it gives the Development Review Committee the authority to grant a minor exception for small open-air non-habitable features like these arbors and trellises and pergolas when they enhance a shared courtyard or entry experience. So in simple terms, here's what the ordinance does. It encourages bungalow court development while protecting neighborhood character. It allows limited flexibility for small courtyard design features. And it sets very clear limits so that they stay modest and pedestrian scaled. So each request will still need to go through a minor exception process so that the Development Review Committee can review its design, placement, and safety, and having some flexibility with oversight. This ordinance is also fully consistent with our general plan land use policies 9.3 and 9.4, which call for monitoring residential development standards to maintain compatibility and refining design guidelines for new multifamily housing. It also supports context-sensitive infill and keeps Monrovia's small town scale intact. Under CEQA, this action is also exempt because state law allows exemptions for some minor land use adjustments like these. And it also doesn't change the density or land use. It simply allows decorative, non-habitable structures within carefully limited dimensions. And so just to summarize, this ordinance is just a small practical update to our zoning code. It preserves the look and feel of Monrovia's historic bungalow courts while allowing today's builders to include some small design touches that make them special. The Planning Commission also reviewed the ordinance on October 15th. They asked some thoughtful questions about its application, but unanimously recommended approval. and staff recommends that the city council introduce, read by title only, and waive further reading of ordinance number 25-11. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions of the council.
Any questions from council? Not hearing any. Thank you, John. This is a public hearing, and so I will open the public hearing and ask, is there anyone wanting to speak on behalf or against this item? Not seeing anyone, then I will close the public hearing and come back to council and ask. I think they're wonderful, the egasm, it's too late and my mind just, bungalow courts, they're fantastic. And this little added element, or the option for that added element, is great. So with that,
I would like to read. Go ahead. Dr.
Okay.
Kelly.
I would like to read by title only and waive further reading of ordinance number 2025-11.
I'll second.
we have a motion and a second. Could we please have a roll call vote?
Council members Belden?
Yes.
Jimenez?
Yes.
Spicer?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly?
Yes.
And Mayor
Yes, yes. Great.
That's-
Thank you very much.
And that's ordinance number 2025-11, ordinance of the City Council of the City of Monrovia, California, adding section 17.12.070 to the Monrovia Municipal Code and amending Monrovia Municipal Code sections 17.04.080 and 17.52.110 to create incentives for the development of bungalow courts and finding adoption of the ordinance to be categorically exempt from review under the California Environmental Quality Act.
Thank you very much. And then with that, then we will move on to reports of city manager and staff. And RCM1, City Council Directives Update, Mr. Feek.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city sent a letter to the governor and the state attorney general regarding the death investigation of Roberto Carlos Montoya Valdez. I did speak with one of the attorneys from the governor's office, who was, as I could have expected, it's not going to be a quick process for them to do an investigation. He also couldn't provide any information on whether we'd actually get any information. I think there's the sensitivity around these types of investigations are serious, but he was one of the prosecutors in the governor's office who called me directly once they received our letter. So we can continue to assure the public that we've sent the letters, but in this type of investigation, we've spoken with our state representatives, even our Congress members know the city's interest, but whether they provide the city of Monrovia any information, we just don't know. The Upper San Gabriel Valley Municipal Water District Executive Director has said that he will be able to attend a meeting on December 2nd to provide an update on the state of our water supply, but also the Quagga Mussel, per your request. We were asked to provide a Samson the Hot Tub Bear to Assemblymember Harabedian after our joint meeting with him last month. The books arrived the other day. We also have to get him a plaque. We noticed that he did not have a City of Monrovia plaque on his office wall. We want to make sure that our plaque is just slightly larger than everybody else's.
City Manager Feek, they have the plaque.
They
as
do
of
have the
tonight.
plaque. Perfect. All right. Thank you,
Oh, you
Alice.
gave it to Adriana? Oh, good.
If the public is not aware, we have shared that unfortunately we have to cancel the Thankful and Grateful Holiday Gathering due to the inclement weather. We do expect it to be quite rainy, but that also allows us time to, spend more energy and effort preparing for the Thanksgiving holiday with our families. And then 1 week after that, we're going to have our annual holiday parade. Parade information and registration went out recently. We're looking forward to another banner year. Last year, I think, was our record. We hope we can break that this year. Two final items. Tomorrow night, the Monrovia Unified School District will be receiving a presentation from the superintendent about the state of their middle school discussions and consolidation. I was talking with the superintendent the other day, and she asked if the city of Monrovia would hear some information once they make their presentation. They'd like us to. They're going to send us the information. They'd like me to distribute it to each one of you, and as part of a larger discussion about collaboration between the city and the school, the district is of the opinion that it would be wise for the city and the school district to discuss what's the status of the school that is closed. The term that they use is consolidation, but I think it's such a serious and significant decision that they have to make, and they want our opinion and their input. They probably are in the best position to weigh in on which school to close and why, but what happens afterward is very much an important public discussion. And so we've talked about other collaborative efforts we have, from partnering with the One City, One Story event, to working together for to fix the high school pool, to opening up the 5 elementary schools after hours for public use. So there's a lot of other activities. We've even talked again about, been asking for a while for a joint meeting, so I'd even expect there to be a joint meeting here in the near future. But I'll bring an item to the City Council, including that presentation at your December 2nd meeting. And last but not least, last week, the Municipal Management Association of Southern California, which is a very old organization of government professionals in Southern California, recognized the City of Monrovia for a 2025 Organizational Excellence Award. We had staff who are very active in this organization attend the meeting. What they noted was the city's efforts to provide information on vision, mission, and values to our employees, from the newest employee to our Employee of the Year awards. But we also specifically drew attention to our, close your ears, Craig, our annual council campout, which continues to be a very unique, extremely unique program, where the city council staff, it's a fun, unique event, but the city's repeated efforts to build culture and to bring community, city officials, city leaders together to work together to solve problems was recognized by MMSC. So we're very, very excited for that award. I'll make sure that the award is displayed here at City Hall, but I just wanted to share that information. We'll include more additional information in the city manager update this week. That's my report this evening. Thank you.
Any questions of Dylan? Thank you very much. Then RCM2, installation of historic Route 66 signage along South Shamrock Avenue between Foothill Boulevard and Huntington Drive,
Jocelyn.
and Foothill Boulevard between Fifth Avenue and Shamrock Avenue, and replacement of existing Route 66 signage along Huntington Drive between Fifth Avenue and Mountain Avenue. And Jocelyn Casas, our senior management analyst, will present this report.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Shevlin and members of the City Council. Thank you for your time this evening. My name is Jocelyn, and tonight I will be presenting on Monrovia's historic Route 66 signage. As Council is aware, the city has been preparing for the centennial anniversary of this historic route. Earlier this year, the Art and Public Places Committee unveiled its newest installation on Huntington Drive, a mural highlighting key elements of Monrovia and notably highlighting the street significance to Route 66. In September, our partners at KGM Studios also presented their feature film, An Ode to an Old Road, a Route 66 story. This evening, I will be providing a brief recap of the history of Route 66, provide an overview of current signage, and present the opportunity to update those existing signs and install new signage along the historic route. Established in 1926, U.S. Route 66, or U.S. Highway 66, also known as the Mother Road, is one of the original highways in the United States. The route travels from Illinois all the way to California. The route travels from San Bernardino County, LA County to Santa Monica, and goes right here through our very own Monrovia. From 1926 to 1934, the route originally ran through Shamrock and onto Foothill Boulevard. But in 1934, the route was realigned onto Huntington Drive as a result of population growth. The change was thought to be helpful in eliminating sharp turns and improving traffic flow. By 1984, the two-lane Route 66 had been replaced by four-lane interstates, ensuring travel time and bypassed small towns. In 1984, the signs came down and the official designation Route 66 was reassigned to a highway outside of Washington, D.C. But in 1990, the San Bernardino Tourism Development Council requested cities in Southern California to designate the route in an effort of historical preservation. The goal was actually to boost tourism right here in Southern California. Monrovia became the first city in California to install official signs on Huntington Drive after other cities in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Arizona were already beginning to do the same installation. Signs were not placed on Shamrock and Foothill at this time. Today, The current signage only exists on Huntington Drive. There are currently 6 signs along Huntington Drive that can be found between Fifth Avenue and the 210 off-ramp, between Highway Esplanade and Mayflower, on the northeast corner of Myrtle, the northwest corner of California, the northwest corner of Shamrock, and the northwest corner of Mountain. Several months ago, the Historical Society approached the city about the possibility of refreshing existing signage. Signage was approved and installed in 1990, and it's unclear if those signs have been refreshed since. Signage has become faded from normal aging and weathering. The images here show 3 different signs along Huntington Drive that have become difficult to see. The image on the left-hand corner is a sign placed on the corner of Shamrock and Huntington. As you can see, sign's a little faded. The image in the center is a sign on the corner of California. Again, a little difficult to see. And the last image can be found between Mayflower and Highway Esplanade. You can see some of the original brown tones, but again, has become faded. Additionally, signage currently only exists on the north side of the street, so they're only visible to travelers traveling westbound. Tonight, we are proposing to not only update the existing 6 signs, but to also approve the installation of 8 more signs on Huntington Drive. 6 signs to be installed on the south side of the street for travelers heading eastbound, 2 signs on Huntington and Shamrock to direct travelers to the historic route on Shamrock and Foothill, and a bypass route sign for those who wish to only travel the historic route on Foothill. It's important to note that these are only a mock-up, and the signs order will follow the California Manual on Uniform Traffic Control Devices. In addition to those signs, a recommendation to add signs along Foothill is also being proposed. 12 signs would be added to mimic the 12 signs on Huntington. Proposed locations include Madison, Violet, Mayflower, between South Alta Vista and South Magnolia in front of the Aztec Hotel, Myrtle, and Canyon. At the intersection of Shamrock and Foothill, directional signage similar to the one proposed on Huntington Drive is being recommended. Lastly, 4 signs are also being recommended to be installed onto Shamrock Avenue. 2 to go on the corner of Colorado, 1 in front of Fred's Museum, and 1 across the street near the park. 2 more to go in Walnut, 1 in front of the old Flying J's gas station, and the second to go across the street. To recap, a total of 35 signs are being proposed tonight. Public Works recently received a quote for the signage to cost nearly $3,040. This includes the design, print, and tax. 2 signs are also included in this quote for Old Town Monrovia. Our recommendation this evening is to approve the purchase of the sign and to continue to prepare for the upcoming Route 66 anniversary. This concludes my presentation. I will answer any questions you may have at this time.
Yeah.
Any questions of Jocelyn?
Yeah, Jocelyn, the one you said for Old Town, where would it be positioned at?
So we're currently just ordering the sign right now, and then we'll go back and look at where we can
Okay.
place this sign.
Great report.
Thank you.
Can I have one in my house?
Only if you buy it.
I have a suggestion. The signs that are being retired, the Route 66 signs, maybe those can be
In the museum?
in the museum, or maybe at a public event, raffle it off, an authentic Monrovia Route 66 sign, the first signs that any city in California put up for Route 66. It's just a suggestion, because that's significant.
They were the first ones?
In California, correct?
Yeah, those in
Yeah,
1990.
at the museum. Yeah, at the museum. we
The
did
ones
that.
that are currently installed aren't the original. They're the ones that were reinstalled in 1990.
19 when?
90. So in the
90.
90s,
Well,
early
it's
90s.
Old?
Hey, be careful.
Sergio wants to buy them at an auction. That's what he's saying.
How many of those signs are
Out
left?
there.
There's 6 of them on Huntington
Okay,
Drive.
all right.
Great.
Just curious, what was the wording on the top? So is there, looks like there's an extra little date sign that we're putting on a few of them?
Yeah, so the ones that are being proposed to go on Foothill and Shamrock, those say the original route dates from 1924 to 1930, 1926 to 1934.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
For just the Shamrock portion.
Shamrock and Foothill, correct.
Thank you.
Cool.
Great. This is a receive and file report. Great report, Jocelyn. And it is received and it shall be filed. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jocelyn.
Okay, then that does it with our reports of city manager and staff. Moving on now to reports of city council members and subcommittees. And our clock hasn't changed. It's actually only 5 minutes after 10, but just to let you know.
It feels like 12, Madam Mayor.
Yeah, right. And we do have an agenda item after this. But I will start off by Mr. Belden.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have quite a bit that went on in the past few weeks since we didn't have our last city council meeting, which was around the vote time and beginning of November. So a lot did happen. I'll just pull out a couple items that I was really had an honor to attend. I think with many of you, the ceremony to recognize all the amazing work our police force does, and the award ceremony that was at USC by our fellow Southern California associations of police officers, and great to see our team getting the props that they deserve. It was also just outstanding to join many of you at the Immigration Resource Center gala that they hosted at our Monrovia Historical Museum. And just, I understand they had a lot of support that night, and they do a lot of great work, and I'm sure Dr. Kelly will bring it up a little later too. So thank you for all your service on that group. Veterans Day was a really important event just recently that we had host at, or Valentine's Day, as some people might call it, for their love of all our fellow veterans, including our fellow veterans that are up here with us today. But an honor to go out there and recognize them, and of course I'll just thank you to my dad that served as well. And I'll bring it up at the next one, but I have something I'll talk a little bit more about. Just some people have discussed ways we can remember folks that have, there was a World Day of Remembrance for road traffic victims that just happened on Sunday, but I'll bring it up at the next meeting. So thank you very much. That's it for me today. Oh,
Okay.
actually, sorry, just one more thing.
Uh-huh.
All right. Just a little comment, just, I know we didn't really have a chance to speak to folks tonight about the assessment district, but this is not unique to me. I think we all share these values and we all feel the same pain that everyone in our community is feeling in terms of inflation. And a lot of this, as we just summarized in probably one statement from our city manager, is a chance for this district to catch up and then address inflation that we're all feeling, and that's really what this is. But we definitely understand, and I definitely understand, at least myself, people's concerns about the cost of living and trying to address that. And I think we always encourage, and I always encourage, everyone encourages us, and I know our staff worked really hard to try to keep costs down and use our funds wisely. So I appreciate that you guys do that every day. So thank you.
Mr. Spicer.
Okay. I did a lot of the things that Edward talked about, the immigration gala, the Monrovia Duarte Black Alumni, they had a gala for the Dream Team. There was gentlemen that played for the Dodgers, played for some of the, my cousin Fair Hooker, who played for the Cleveland Browns. A lot of these guys were graduates of Monrovia High School and Duarte High School. Also, I think that's about it in regards to all the different functions we had going on. The holiday parade will be held in Old Town Monrovia on Thursday, December the 4th at 7 p.m. Parade applications are now available online or at the community center. Come be a part of this festive occasion. We'll see you there. In addition, the holiday home decorating applications are now available. We invite the entire community to share their holiday spirit, decorate your home, and be a part of this community tradition. I've already put up my Christmas lights and stuff. All entries will be included in the holiday home decorating map, and the winners will be recognized at the December 16 council meeting. Regarding the discussion tonight, I understand Also, the concern with the people in the community, with all the tariffs that's going on, the price hikes in the food, and it's just hard. But, it's been a while since we brought things to where they need to be. And I just believe that this would help us to get in line with where we need to be regarding the, how much we should be charging for the money that we'll be taking in for the district. So myself, the staff did an excellent job. Craig explained a lot of the things that the citizens brought up in the community. Dylan did a great job explaining. So I'm going to shut up, and that's it.
Okay. Mr. Jimenez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to also address the Lighting Landscape District. 30 years is a long time to wait to catch up to where we need to be. I agree that something should have been done years ago, but it wasn't. So it's our job to look at the options, what's available. The most important thing is that we're letting the voters decide. It's not the council that's up here. The voters are going to decide. The property owners who are most directly impacted are going to make that decision. And I think that's the most important thing that we could do. And that's what we did. So we'll find out soon the results, and then we'll decide from there where we go.
That's right.
I want to talk a little bit about the Christmas season, our annual Monrovia Christmas ornament. I think that we have some great images. Let me tell you why this is a great idea. This ornament comes from the Art and Public Places Committee. That's the same committee that's approved the murals, that's the neighborhood treasures, and so much artwork around Monrovia. But now here's an opportunity for people to actually own art that they can hold in the palm of their hands. It's a great holiday gift. It's a collector's item. The Monrovia Christmas ornament. They've only made 120 total quantity. That makes it a rare collectible. It's only $17 plus tax. It's $18.79. It is actually got the name of the artist in the back. I'm holding one up right now. You can see right here.
Santa and his reindeer.
Yes, it's very iconic Monrovia. It takes into consideration that everybody knows that fountain and that library that lives in the San Gabriel Valley. But now it's the holiday season, so you see Santa and his sleigh flying above it. Even if it didn't say Monrovia, you know that's Monrovia, and you know it's Christmas time. So this is the opportunity to share in the Christmas joy here in Monrovia and give these out as Christmas gifts. If you would like to purchase one, you can purchase them right here at City Hall, come right up to the counter, or go to monroviacalifornia.gov, or better yet, go to cityofmonroviastore.org and you can purchase one. I know I'm going to purchase some to give away to family members. So I want to thank the Art and Public Places Committee for doing such a great job. And it wasn't just one artist, it was a large number of artists, stiff competition, and the result is a great Christmas ornament. I wanted to talk about some of the other events, the Veterans Day event in Monrovia. I think, Larry, what do you think? Was it the best attended? It was a lot of people.
Yeah, it gets better every year.
I think we had the largest number of people that I've seen since I've been attending them for several years. And I wanted to thank the Allied Veterans Council, the Monrovia VFW Post 2070, ALA, the Monrovia High School Band that played patriotic music that really, you got emotional when you were there, seeing the veterans, and it was just great.
There was one World War II vet.
One surviving World War II veteran. And I want to thank also Lieutenant Colonel Brenda Threat. She was a keynote speaker. She did a great, just a wonderful job. And the League of California Cities Conference, I just wanted to say that the topics there were timely, including how other cities are dealing with homelessness, coordinating emergency response, proactive wildfire preparations. We had an inspiring keynote speaker, was Erin Brockovich. We've all heard of her, if not have not seen the movie. And also, I wanted to talk about Make a Difference Day. We had Macy and members of the Volunteer Center of San Gabriel Valley, which includes Larry, who's very active, not just for Make a Difference Day, but he's active with the Volunteer Center. It was, I think, the biggest number of volunteers, over 400 volunteers that we had. And just special thanks to the leadership of Macy Gracia, the executive director. She did a great job. And finally, it was wonderful to attend the Monrovia Authority Black Alumni Association Scholarship Gala. The theme was one celebrating not just the students who received scholarships, but the Monrovians and also Duartians who went on to professional sports. I had no idea that many were. NBA players, professional baseball players. There was a lot of them. And I think that Sheila Spicer Batiste did a great job organizing the event. It was a full house. I think this one was the biggest one I've seen. There was no more room. I mean, the city council members were tucked at a little corner. There was no empty tables. There were not even partially empty tables. Very successful event, so I want to congratulate them on that. That concludes my report. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
You're welcome. Dr. Kelly.
Thank you so much. As with my fellow council members, we had a very busy month of just being able to celebrate and connect with community. One of my favorite events that I had an opportunity to go to was the Halloween Bash. I just love that. So many Monrovians come out to that, and we just want to give a great big good job to community services because there's a lot of work that goes into it. And also the businesses that participate. A lot of you, I'm not sure if you know that Monrovia, we purchase candy for participating businesses so that they can give out, just so that we can support our businesses and just to foster a community atmosphere. And I had an opportunity to just walk down the street and just see families and just different individuals just enjoying the community. And I just thought, this is what it's all about, just being able to get outside of our four walls and connect in community. So I really enjoyed being able to do that. The other thing I wanted to make mention of concerning the assessment district, I want to agree with all my colleagues, but I want to agree with what is your name again?
Sergio.
Sergio. As it relates to, it's in the hands of the voters, and I think that is very comforting in knowing that the voters will decide on this item. What is my next one? Oh, Duarte's Mayor Prayer Breakfast. We have our prayer breakfast. Oh, I'm not going to announce that. Our mayor's going to announce that. Isn't that on yours?
Yeah, you can.
Well,
announce it
the
too.
Mayor Prayer Breakfast is coming up on Friday. It's too late to buy a ticket, but if you are going to be there, please be there early. It's going to be a wonderful time of community. It is sold out, I think, for the second year in a row.
Yeah.
So that's good news on that.
188 people registered.
And last but not least, it's not last, I have a whole thing. But we're able to go to the Duarte Mayor Prayer Breakfast and in just a show of connection and camaraderie. Myself, Councilmember Larry, Mayor Becky was there, and we had an opportunity just to connect with our colleagues in Duarte, and we had a great opportunity, a very good breakfast. So glad to be a part of that. And lastly, we are gearing up for the annual City of Monrovia Holiday Parade, and we invite you to be a part of the special dignitary gathering. Please join us Thursday, December the 4th at 5 p.m. for a holiday dinner. I don't know if this is supposed to be for everyone, but this is what I was given. A holiday dinner, festive music, and some fellowship before heading out to the parade. While we are missing our time together at Thankful and Grateful Holiday Gathering, the holiday parade is a perfect alternative. We look forward to celebrating with you all. And if you have any questions, please feel free to call the Community Services Department, but we look forward to seeing you all for the holiday parade. on December, what's the date on that? December the 4th. So please show up early, get your spots, December 4th. Dylan Feek, our city manager, has some wonderful candies that he's going to be giving out, and I think he said he's
I
going to
think he's going to be throwing them out.
No, he's going to be throwing them out, so please wear a helmet. I think he said that he's bought a bar for every child in the city of Monrovia. Is that right? Did you not hear that, Craig? I think that was right. Thank you. That's all I have.
Yeah, they'll be the little mini ones. Thank you very much. Yes, it has been, there's a whirlwind of all sorts of activities going on. And in light of also our discussions for the 218 process and budget and things like that, both city budgets and personal budgets, it's always it's a hard conversation. And as you know, I also am a part of the LA County Executive Committee on Regional Housing Alignment. And we're talking about our spending plan for Measure A funds. And it's a depressing conversation because there's so many programs that were funded with one and only time funding. And so there were very large cuts that were required. But Measure A isn't everything. There are other things that are being funded through other funding streams, but state and federal funds in general a lot of them are being cut. But good things do happen, and I did go to, it was the celebration through the San Gabriel Valley Regional Housing Trust, and there was a 90 homes affordable. All 90 were affordable for families, individuals, and veterans. This is in Pomona. And it was really neat. And what was unique about it is that they also have an on-site mental health clinic, and they also had community rooms for learning centers and things like that. And the Regional Housing Trust did donate $1 million in total funding to help make that project possible. It had a lot of subsidies in order to make that one work. But I also attended the 5-year anniversary for our San Gabriel Valley Regional Housing Trust. And this organization is so awesome in what they've been able to do in 5 years. And our Regional Housing Trust has 25 members. And in that 5 years, they have funded 927 units of affordable housing, 130 units of interim shelter, and 130 units of interim shelter. And also in June of 2025, the Regional Housing Trust launched an affiliated nonprofit house GV. It's a land trust. And so we look forward to being able to do things like that and people that donate their land to the trust. And in total, like I said, 927 units. They haven't all been built, but the funding has been made possible at totaling $39,963,030. So that's really awesome. I have an ongoing dialogue about La Casa under Measure A, and so far, I know they've been in existence for a while, but hopefully that is going to pick up because a large amount of that funding is supposed to go to housing. At any rate, and Empower had their great event up at the Canyon Park, and Gio, there was a spider that actually formed a little web on one of the wine bottles that they were serving from, and he was demonstrating bringing around and showing everyone the spider. They were literally serving wine as the spiders dangling from this wine bottle. But it was a great event. Nice to see how you can use that venue. And Taste of Old Town that Kiwanis brought back. That was a great success. Look forward to that in years to come. And the SGV Care Award, and I asked Dylan if we can maybe have a presentation because SGV Care is entered into a 2.0 program, and so there's some additional opportunities there under that program. Monrovia still is hitting it out of the park under that program, and that does not get funded with Measure A. there's another source, and it's funded through 2028. It was an original $8 million grant, at any rate. And let me see here. Oh, I went to a Foothill Transit Association, well, no, it was a California Transit Association conference. Pete Buttigieg was one of the featured speakers. And on Thursday, November 6th, I had a pleasant surprise. I was there representing Foothill Transit, and the Women's Transportation Seminar International LA chapter had their annual awards dinner. And at any rate, all of a sudden, Alex Tachiki comes up and says hi to me. And I said, "What are you doing here?" Well, our very own Sophia Sosa is she's currently earning a master's degree in urban planning with a concentration in mobility and transportation at USC.
Wow.
There, she is on the executive board of mentorship for an accessible price, and a recent member. Okay, I think I have a typo there, but at any rate. And she's a recent member of the school's Institute for Transportation Engineers chapter. Currently, Sophia is a management analyst for City of Monrovia and oversees city's transportation programs. And she was awarded, it was a Myra L. Frank Memorial Graduate Scholarship, and it was the top award, $10,000.
Wow.
So congratulations. Please tell her we said congratulations. We're so proud of her. That was a real highlight of the evening. I got to meet her fiance as well. So at any rate, and then the native plant sale that was on Saturday the 8th, and going to John Harabedian's office, Edward was there as well. But at any rate, that's from, and I just want to say happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And about our assessment, and Mr. Steele, if you will please confirm for me, I want to be totally transparent here. Our options, should the vote be yes, what are our options as a council? You were explaining today, this evening.
Can I go at it a different way?
Yes,
Can I
you
answer the
may.
question
Yes.
As we said in the staff report, if the vote is no, the city council may not impose the assessment, and the existing assessments stay in effect. If the vote is yes, then the city council can decide whether or not to impose the assessment. And if the council acts to impose the new assessment, the old ones will go away.
And I just wanted to make that transparent on that.
Madam Mayor, I forgot to just say that Saturday, November the 29th, is Shop Small Saturday in Old Town, and I
Yep.
forgot to mention
Yep.
that. So on the 29th, please shop.
Right after Thanksgiving, that Saturday after Thanksgiving. And again, our prayer breakfast is this Friday, and we are a resilient community, and our theme is resiliency through faith. And December 18th, is this premature? Actually, Miss Kevin McManus whispered in my ear, he says, "I'll be back on the 18th for the ugly sweater contest." 16th? Oh, okay, I got it. But that's Tuesday. So at the second meeting in December, we will have the ugly sweater contest, so get prepared. Okay, again, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. And we will move on then to our administrative reports at AR1, Public Safety Critical Communications Center infrastructure upgrade and migration to the interagency communications interoperability ICI system in an amount not to exceed $790,447.04. So, at any rate, yes.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Good.
That was quite a mouthful, wasn't it?
Yes,
So
well, it even went on, but.
So I'll just refer to it as our dispatch upgrade project
Okay.
to keep it simple.
That sounds good to me.
Council members, Madam Mayor, thank you. City officials, thank you for giving me this opportunity. I would be remiss if I didn't point out that I am presenting on behalf of Captain Covarrubias, who couldn't be here tonight, but has been working on this project for more than 4 years and prepared the report from which I'm presenting. So thanks to her for her hard work. So I would like to just go through the reason for the project, the need for the project, and what it will hopefully accomplish for us. So our police dispatch operation is a 24/7 operation. We never close down. We are currently staffed by 8 full-time dispatchers and 4 part-time dispatchers. This ensures that at all times in our dispatch center, we have a person dedicated to taking telephone calls and another dedicated to operating our radios at all times. Our dispatch center, our communications center, enters approximately 80 calls for service a day, resulting in approximately 25,000 calls for service each calendar year. However, that just means that those are calls for service that have been opened that require another employee, a police officer, community service officer, or someone else to respond. We actually receive more than 300 calls a day, sometimes spiking even higher than that. In 23 and 24, the city successfully lobbied for federal grant assistance to help us implement this project. However, neither of those grant processes were approved and effectively did not proceed. We had to table this project for several years, several times. Here is a current picture of what our dispatch center looks like. I mean, put this in here so you can see what an array of screens and electronics and things that our dispatchers have to monitor, all of which will be streamlined to an extent by this upgrade project. The project itself is about 17 years after our last upgrade, which was in 2008. As of this time, the Monrovia Police Department's dispatch center is the only dispatch center in the County of Los Angeles still operating on an analog system. All of the other police dispatch and communication centers are operating on a digital encryption system. This makes it very difficult and at times impossible for us to communicate with other agencies when we have multi-jurisdictional issues, when we have critical incidents, critical events. There are sometimes workarounds for that difficulty, and sometimes there simply aren't. Our lack of digital encryption unfortunately means that not only do we have trouble communicating with other agencies at times, it means that we are now no longer meeting all federal and DOJ standards for radio communications, as outlined in DOJ Bulletin 2009 CGIS, and that relates to criminal justice information systems or restricted information systems. We do know that over the next few years, there are a number of large-scale events occurring, not necessarily within Monrovia, but within our region that will impact Monrovia, including FIFA 2026, the Summer Olympics and Paralympics in 2028, and there are a number of other incidents in the next few coming years that will make our entry into the ISIS, the Interagency Communications Interoperability System, not just a good idea, but mandatory. We have explored other options for how we can meet our needs, and unfortunately, at this time, we found they're not workable. We have run into issues with supplies. Most of the equipment that we are using, new replacement equipment is no longer being manufactured. When we've had failures, we've had to do things like call around to other agencies, see if they have old stock. We've gone so far as to search online and places like eBay at times to see if we can find our parts. We find that technicians are now having trouble not just fixing the problems, but even initially identifying what the problem might be, because they're used to working on the digital systems, and it takes some time either to make telephone calls to, even at times, retired technicians to ask what the problem might be and how to resolve it. So we have older and discontinued software and hardware. We have software systems that are no longer being supported. And so that, again, just makes the upgrade project that much more important and mandatory. Taking these funds and pushing this project forward is really the only option remaining to us, which will ensure that we can continue to effectively service not just the city of Monrovia, but also the greater region in general and ensure public safety. We did go through a full bid process with all of the potential vendors for all of the hardware, software, and associated items. And after consideration of all of the products, we have decided to go with Motorola Solutions as sole source. Our current CAD and RMS system is built out of a Motorola Systems template. The ISIS system itself was built on a Motorola Systems platform, which means the interoperability with any Motorola systems that we purchase and install would be immediate. As a result of bringing in new hardware, we will have to also redesign the furniture, the storage, and the ergonomics of our communication center, for which we received 3 bids, as listed up here. We did site walkthroughs with some of these companies. We did extended telephone conferences, teleconferences, and we have determined to proceed with Watson. They are not just the lower bid, but they also have provided us in great detail what we really need out of the communication center. They offer better ergonomic designs, better functionality, and they are more responsive to our needs if we at some point need to replace, repair, or simply change up what we have going on inside. This is a breakdown of the total cost for the hardware, so to speak, the actual consoles, consolettes, the routers, and the associated peripherals. We're looking at about $733,000. We are going to be replacing and in some places combining some of our equipment for our CCTVs and our CAD systems. And we are going to be migrating our 911 lines and radios during the upgrade, which unfortunately does have an associated cost. We will be moving our dispatchers out of the communication center and into a temporary communication center in our building, but it will require some infrastructure upgrades to make that possible. We do have some recurring costs with the Spectrum fiber installation there being $500. Again, the console furniture quote is there. And we are asking for a 10% contingency to account for things such as increases in costs between now and termination of the project, tariffs, things like that, overruns. And so with the contingency listed there, we're looking at a total project cost of just under $870,000. These are just quick artist renderings of what the new center will look like. On the left is the 3 dispatch consoles. What we're hoping is, as you can see, you're consolidating some of the many computer screens and control boards that we saw in the earlier photograph. That'll be on the left, and then the overhead there on the right, what the new room will look like. This is our recommendation to staff that we approve the purchase of the equipment, furniture, and migration to the ICI system for the communication center upgrade for $790,447.04 and approve a 10% contingency in the amount of $79,044.70 and authorize city manager to execute the necessary documents in a form acceptable to the city attorney. And because I knew I was going to be last, I kept that as blissfully short as I could for you guys.
Thank you very much. And we didn't identify you. This is Captain John Donchik. So thank you for filling in this evening. Great report. Any
Thank you, ma'am.
questions of the captain?
Thank you. I think it sounds long overdue.
Yeah,
and we
I
appreciate
feel
the work.
bad. I mean, that's not something that you want to be known as the last one, you know.
Well, we've made it work, but this project has been a long time coming, and we are all very happy behind the scenes that we've made tangible progress to getting it done.
Well,
We're all
thank you for
excited.
being so fiscally responsible. I did have a question, though, that always drives me crazy when, okay, the high bid was $96,986, and the one we accepted was $39,254. Why did the top guy just not want it
No
or
gold
something?
toilet.
What's that?
It didn't come with the gold toilet.
Yeah.
My understanding from having spoken to our communications manager is that, amongst other things, Watson is a newer company and probably in the process of trying to establish themselves. And they're a local company, which is what makes them more responsive.
Okay, all right. Yeah, but when you see that disparity, sometimes you kind of, yikes.
Are we getting the sale?
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, I'm glad we're getting this fixed, but we do need a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the public safety critical communication center infrastructure upgrade and migration to the interagency communication interoperability ICI system in an amount not to exceed $790,447.04, and approve a 10% contingency in the amount of $79,044.70, and authorize the city manager to execute the necessary documents in a form acceptable to the city attorney.
I'd like to second it, but I also just like to point out, when people asked earlier today, where are we going to spend
Right.
all the other money that we have?
Right. This is one of the.
This is a very good example of
Yeah.
things. that
Public
we can spend
safety.
money. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Council members Belton,
Yes.
Jimenez.
Yes.
Spicer.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Dr. Kelly. And Mayor Shevlin.
Yes, and thank you very much again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pat.
And then our next scheduled meeting then is on Tuesday, December 2nd, 7:30 PM in these council chambers. And again, that will be the time that we are discussing the resolution on the 218 vote. And not having any further business, we are going to adjourn this evening's meeting in memory of Melinda Franson, a longtime Monrovia resident, and Edgar Bourne Jr. Oh, well, a longtime Monrovia resident. I did not know that. And our hearts and prayers go out to their families, especially during this holiday season. So keep them in your hearts and prayers. And with that, we are adjourned at 10:39 p.m.
Yes.
Thank you.